Good evening, GSRC racers, friends, family, and anybody else who may have found us on this Thursday evening. We are live from the roller coaster of Brazil, Interlargos, for what should be a cracking race. Round 2 of the Spreyton Cider Formula V Championship. Round 1 was taken out by John Merritt ahead of Adam Levis and Aaron Guntini. We will see how round 2 develops, but it's looking to be a competitive championship, as Formula Vs always are, because they provide such good racing. You cannot break away. That long pull of that from the final corner all the way through to the center S's is going to mean that these cars continue close to each other for the entirety of the race. No one's going to be able to break away, and it's going to be partly down to skill and partly down to luck as to who is going to come out on top here tonight. 3 races as always in the Formula V. My name's Liam Banks. Alongside me, I have got Daniel Saar, and we are going to be bringing you all of the action from tonight, including not just the Formula Vs, but after that, we're heading over to Silverstone, that most hollowed of British motorsporting turf. And from there, we are going to witness the second round of the Porsche Cup, where some big names are doing their best to take it to Matty Dench. Of course, he's going to look odds on to take yet another Porsche Cup title, but I think this could be one of the most difficult seasons he will have to face in a long while, just looking at the names that competed in round 1. These are your track conditions for tonight. Are beautiful. 25 degrees, 8 kilometers an hour winds. The drivers aren't really going to feel that. Not going to have to worry about it. Track temperature is 31, so yeah, it's basically perfect, and we're at a perfect circuit as far as I am concerned. The qualifying is underway at the moment. We have started the stream just a tad earlier than normal, just so we could make sure we have time to run you through the conditions, run you through the grid before we get started, because you never know with Formula Vs how many drivers we're going to get. Sometimes we can easily get up to 30, and it takes a little while to get through them all. So we've got 1.5 minutes of qualifying. I'll let my co-commentator just wet his whistle, get his throat a little bit warmed up, and say his first words of the evening. How are you going, Daniel, and what are you looking forward to tonight?
Thanks, Liam. Yeah, I'm going good. It should be a cracker of a race tonight, considering we are at Interlargos. Interlargos usually always produces some pretty good racing, and the Formula Vs really don't disappoint. It's very rare to have a Formula V round without some pretty cracker racing. We saw that example last week. There were a couple of crashes, but some insane fights at the front, at least in the first race there, because we had Matthew Dench decide to visit on that first race, and he really gave it to John Merritt, but unfortunately didn't quite get it at the end there, so John ended up getting that first one. And then in the second race, there was some clumsiness right at the end, and the first, if I remember correctly, 4 cars got caught up in all the mess at the last corner, which allowed P5, which was, I want to say, I forget the name.
It was
Aaron Guintini. I think it was Aaron Guintini managed to come through from P5 and take that win in round 2, which was just insane. Oh, yes. And then, yeah, round 3. Again, there was some heavy accidents, and I believe there were a lot of penalty points that were given out. I do know that Sam Chapman is not competing in tonight's race due to those. He ended up getting 7, I believe, which was nuts. But in any case, a great first round, and I fully expect that the second round will be just as good, if not better.
Which we should point out, right? So it's a good sign for the quality of the stewarding, because Sam Chapman does run the championship, so to see him get expunged from around from his own championship just goes to show that there is not at least any super obvious bias going on. There's always a tiny bit, because there's people are people. Anyway, this is your grid for the first race tonight. We've got Adam Levis on pole, taking a break from broadcasting on a Monday night to come race on Thursdays and absolutely nailing it. He's got Tony Baker horse tuning alongside him, with Sean McKenzie and Aidan Schultz behind them on the second row. In the third row, we've got Kevin Henderson and Brendan Nealon. Behind them, Chris Stark and Sean McClure. And running out the top 10, we have Phil King and Pete Matson. In 11th, we have Jonathan Hooper, and behind him, Adam Johnson. On the 7th row, we've got Philip Howe and Colin Bennett. Then we have Gary Wellman and Greg Padgett on row 8, Luke Kimi and Adam St. John behind them, and then Jake Jackson and Cade Donnelly at the back. moments away from the race starts, as Formula V's will be revving their engines, getting ready to go. All the drivers will be doing one or two things. A lot of them will be pumping themselves up, getting themselves geared up, or they'll be desperately trying to keep calm, stop themselves from shaking, just depending on what their psychological makeup is. We can see the lights going live, and they hit the pedal to the metal, and they get away. Pretty even start at the front of the grid, except for P1, who seems to have got himself a bit on a lead going into turn 1. That'll be good, because turn 1 down through the center S is such a great overtaking opportunity. If you can get on the inside or the outside at turn 1, you can hold it. Oh, he's gone around. He's gone around. Adam Lavis has spun from the lead of the race. He's got another person behind him taking a spin as well. That has left Tony Baker in the lead of the race with Sean McKenzie, one of the most dangerous drivers in the Formula V's, behind him. That's going to be a great battle going through the race. And Kevin Henderson in third. If I was Zach, I'd be saying, Hendo, ever the bridesmaid, never the bride. Well, he's got a good opportunity to break that today in third place, going round the third corner for the first time here tonight. First race is 10 minutes. Then we will have a reverse grid for the second race. Then we will have the third race as the second race finished, as always, in the Formula V's. I think that is a well-trod format that works really well for these cars, because everybody can make their way up through the pack, because it is so easy to get good tight pack racing like this. How often do you see four cars with two of them going side by side in 2 rows this late in the first lap? Usually they're already all spread out. That is ahead of you is Tony Baker and Sean McKenzie. You are on board with Kevin Henderson in third place, almost running into the back of McKenzie there. That's Stark going down out of nowhere, going down the inside of Sean McKenzie. He'll look to hold on around the outside here. That means it's going to be compromised going into what is effectively the final corner, Junkao, and he'll struggle to get a move done there. But Sean McKenzie taking such a narrow line that will compromise and coming up the hill. And going onto that hill, you want as much momentum as you can, because it is so steep. These camera angles don't do it justice. When you're in the car, you can really feel it. Oh, not enough space. And that's Kevin Henderson going around. We'll have to get a replay and see what happened there. Just looked like maybe Chris Stark didn't realise he was on his inside, didn't leave him any space.
Wow,
maybe not.
That seemed really aggressive on the top there. So, yeah, no, he's come. Yeah, I think he's come across, and then when those tyres have linked up, unfortunately dragged each other to the left side of the track. So Kevin Henderson coming into the pits for some needed repairs. Not exactly how he wanted to see his first lap go, but after all of that has been resolved, Tony Baker is in the lead by about 1.3 seconds. There is Chris Stark in P2 and Phil King in P3. They've started to stretch out the gaps now. That's Pete Matson close by to P3 there. He may make a move in the next couple of corners there. And Adam Lavis spinning out in the first corner, but he's managed to bring himself back up to P7. So not a bad loss. And in terms of the biggest movers and shakers, it looks like actually it's tied now. That'll be Jake Jackson and Cade Donnelly, both with 10 positions gained from the start of the race, as we see race control have dealt 15-second penalty to Philip Howe for not holding his brakes.
Yeah, a fair few incidents on lap 1. It is a difficult circuit, Sao Paulo, because Interlargos, because in Sao Paulo, because there's just so many elevation changes, and depending on the elevation, the characteristic of the car does subtly change. It can go more oversteer, go more understeer, and these cars, they can be really at the best of times. And that looks like that's Jake Jackson and Kay Donnelly getting caught up together. So let's have a look what happened here. Kay, the car in focus.
Oh, just went too deep on the inside, and then everybody ended up getting caught out by that, except for whoever that was shooting up on the inside. They got lucky, but everyone else got caught up on the outside of the track.
That incident was almost a mirror copy of Albon and Hamilton a few years ago when Albon was still driving in the Red Bull.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Absolutely identical. You saw the car ahead taking that wider line, which is a completely valid line, thinking that they're far enough ahead to be safe from the attack. The car behind them disagrees, thinks they can go for the attack. Of course, they're entitled to go for the attack. The inside's wide open, but just not getting far enough ahead, far enough alongside to really make it viable. And it's really hard to tell, though. It's really hard to judge because the lines are so different. You can make up so much what seems like so much ground. Of course, you're taking a much slower minimum apex speed, but we make up a lot of ground on them, and it's really hard to judge. Am I going to get fully alongside? Am I going to be a little bit alongside? And how close do I have to be for this to be genuine? They thought it was genuine. I think, just based off that one replay, looks like it was a little bit ambitious in the end, but such an easy misjudgment. Not going to hold anyone to account too harshly for that. So easy to do at that corner. But that's why this track is so brilliant for racing, because you can take multiple lines, and that means you can get out, no matter what car you're in, you can get out of the dirty air. Of course, Formula V's, we don't care about dirty air. Just look at that evidence. You can say right up someone's exhaust, and you're not going to be a negative effect. You're just going to keep getting the benefit of the toe all through the corner, because a lot of these corners will be...
Ooh! Oh, catch it. No, he's got broken steering, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
And so he's gone right into the wall. Looks like he's going to stop and possibly have to tow his way back. No, he's still going out on track, so he thinks it's at least drivable back to the pits. But an unfortunate one there. Let's have a look at that one more time. I think he just touches... Yeah. Oh, that's an interesting swerve there from 96. Which is Philip Howe.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what race control make of that. It looks weird.
Yeah, I'm not too sure exactly what happened there, but it did seem like a little bit of a jerk from the steering from Philip Howe.
Yeah, it's one of those you're looking at it and your first things as well is they've just jerked into him, but you don't want to get the benefit out because like that's such a weird movement. It doesn't seem like Philip Howe. He's not a name I remember as being overly aggressive or someone like it's often getting in trouble. It seems unlikely that he would make that move. So either he's been spooked by something on his left, or there's something else has happened, like a cat's jumped on him, or you know, imagining something like that's happened. I can't imagine he's willingly just done that, unless it's just absolutely had no idea that the car was alongside him. But even then, like making such a sharp maneuver on a straight is really, really peculiar, not something I would expect to see even at this level of racing. So yeah, an interesting one. That's Adam Lavis in the middle of a massive battle pack for what is the final spot on the podium, and taking that from Phil King. Sean McKenzie, who we also saw going for a spin on lap 2, I believe it was. He's alongside Adam Lavis, so they're coming back through the field together. They've got a bit of a... They're going to have a hard time catching Tony Baker and Chris Stark ahead of them, but that final stop part on the podium, very much up for grabs.
Yeah, 3 seconds, the gap there between P2 and P3. Adam Lavis, again, a terrific job from that first really early turn one spin to come back onto the podium step. He still has a couple of minutes to go in the race, so there'll be some challenge for him to hold on to that, as we see Sean McKenzie, Peter Matson, and Phil King right there with him as they make their way towards the last sector of the circuit. Phil King going a little too wide coming into turn 4, which allowed Lavis to go up on the inside. As for battles elsewhere, it seems that the back of the grid has really extended themselves out, and that'll be the cause of some of the crashes and the knock-on effects from that. We can see race control has just dealt Aiden Schultz a 5-second penalty for contact. That was contact with car 60, Sean McKenzie on lap 2. And so race control have quite a busy night. It's only race 1 of 3. And we're already seeing some significant penalties being dealt out. So hopefully these guys can just pace it a little bit and do a little bit more racing, a little less shoving in the second and third race, as Tony Baker still in the lead. And I believe, based on the lap times I'm seeing, I don't think we're at white flag, but we might be.
Yeah, I'm not. I didn't see a white flag going out. I think we'll probably get one more lap in based on where they are on the track, but no, it's very, very close.
It's white flag. I can see that
it is white flag.
From the... I can't see it there, but yes, there it is. Barney waving the white flag. So it is the last lap of race 1. And Tony Baker was leading as we see another 15-second penalty for Kay Donnelly for a late move with Jake Jackson on lap 2. So those penalties are coming hard and fast. So Tony Baker P1, Chris Stark P2, and Adam Lavis still holding on, but just barely to the last step of the podium.
And this is the battle for the lead, and this is a battle for keeps, because this is the final lap. No time after this to get it back. They're going into the final sector right now. Tony Baker with 0.3 of a second over Chris Stark. We saw them taking alternative lines going through Ferradura, and just Stark not able to find a way through. Tony Baker carrying way more speed with that wider line, but looks like Stark's got a better run down to Jung Kao. It's all going to come down to who can get the better run, who can get can Tony Baker get enough of a momentum over Chris Stark that even with the slipstream he can stay ahead. I think right now I want to be Chris Stark. I want to be getting that toe up the hill. It's so powerful in these cars behind them. There's a cracking battle going on for the final separate podium, but we're going to stay with this Chris Stark edging up to the back of Tony Baker. Tony Baker just sitting in the middle, making Chris Stark have to decide, do I want to go inside or outside? Almost coming to contact. That could have been absolutely disgusting. Oh, coming across the front of him, showing absolutely precise car control, and I don't think he's going to do it. Tony Baker's going to hold on to this. Is he? They're going side by side across the line, and Baker takes the victory.
Sean McClure! No, he gets pipped by .001.
And there's a great battle going on for the final, for the reverse grid pole position. Aiden Schultz in 10th. He's got Ambo St. John right behind him. This is that battle on your screen right now. They're side by side going over the line. Aiden Schultz in 9th. Philip Howe in 10th, and then Adam St. John in 11th. Adam St. John misses out. Howe is in 10th, gets the pole position for the next race.
Was awfully close. Here we go, another one as well. Okay, Donnelly swerves out to the right side, but he will pit Wellman. That's 3 people that have crossed the line ahead of their competitors with .01 on the clock. Philip Howe's actually registering as less than that. It does say 0.00 there for P10. So Philip Howe, of course, will start P1 when we kick off race 2. But Tony Baker just squeezing out Chris Stark there for the win. There was nothing in it, but it was interesting. I would have thought that the draft had a little bit more power, but it seems as Tony Baker cut inside and then back out, that worked in his favour. So Stark will have to pay attention to that one for the upcoming races.
Yeah, I wonder if Stark would be regretting. He showed a little bit of hesitation, didn't he? Didn't know which side to go. What if he committed earlier? Whether he would have had a better opportunity getting overtake, or whether it was just nothing on, and what we saw was actually just him knowing he didn't have the momentum to be able to get alongside. So yeah, there's confirmation for round 1's results. For the grid for round 2, Philip Howe is in pole position because he finished in 10th. Then we've got Aiden Schultz in 2nd, Brendan Nealon and Jonathan Hooper on the 2nd row, Pete Matson and Sean McKenzie on the 3rd, Phil King and Adam Lavis on the 4th, and then Stark and Baker on the 5th row. Baker, of course, taking out the win in race 1. We then got Adam St. John, who just missed out, was in that freeway battle for 10th position, but couldn't quite get it done. So he starts in 11th, Colin Bennett alongside him, and we're about to start the race. Just call out thank you to everybody watching tonight. Much appreciated, and please do stay tuned for the next race after this, and also the Porsche Cup afterwards as this race gets going. Brendan Nealon straight up in 2nd place, getting the position from Aiden Schultz, but they look like they're going to be going 3 abreast, going into the first corner, going through the centre S's. Can everyone fit through? It's very, very ambitious from Adam Lavis on the inside, but is given room, and they get through safely. Really good driving from both of them. I thought that was going to be a crash. Up ahead of them, you've got Aiden Schultz and Jonathan Hooper almost going side by side around the Curve de Sol. Not quite managing to do it. Aiden Schultz just nudging ahead at the exit of the corner, but they've now got this long run down the Rado Aposta, and that's going to be creating overtaking opportunities for basically half the grid right now. They're going 2 by 2 through the corner. Adam Lavis on the inside again, and that's spin around him.
Oh, he avoided it. Oh no! It's a pinball! Oh no!
No! First and the second, the third just proves too much for Adam Lavis. Everyone's spinning around him. He's thinking he can hold on, doesn't quite manage it, and goes for his sympathy spin in the end. Did really well to hold on for as long as he did. The result of that is Philip Howes in 1st, Nealon's in 2nd, Schultz in 3rd, Pete Matson in 4th. Not much change there, but now we're getting into the big movers and shakers. Chris Stark is up 3, Kevin Henderson, he's up 8 from 15th to 7th. Just showing that no matter where you start on this Formula 3 grid, your race can change in half a lap. And that's contact at the front. Philip Howe's been taken out. He's collapsing down the order. That's him on the grass over there. Aiden Schultz takes the lead. Pete Matson's on the 2nd spot of the podium right now, with Chris Stark, the final lowest spot on the podium, but putting Pete Matson under a lot of pressure, looking to get ahead. Not sure it was a hit Philip Howe from behind, or whether he got himself a bit out of shape going through turn 10 there, and got bumped. We'll have to see if we can find a replay once we have got any live action, which maybe never, but we will see. Pete Matson and Chris Stark going side by side currently, and Chris Stark just edging all the way over to the Pete Matson edging all the way over to the wall, make sure Chris Stark hasn't got a line on these. Oh, there's contact! Pete Matson plummeting down the order. A lot like a pure case of misjudging how powerful the slipstream was. And here we go. We've got a replay. Let's have a look at this. We're looking from Pete Matson's front axle, and yet just getting hit from behind by Chris Stark. I think that'll be looked on pretty dimly by the stewards. No need for that. Easy misjudgment to make, but when you can just pull out of the slipstream, it's easily avoidable as well. So Pete Matson rejoins in 9th.
Here's the incident that happened early on. So this was Adam Johnson just catching a little too much. I do love the McLaren cars livery there. So both of those two go sideways. And then that's the merely started happening as we move towards turn 4. So here's Jonathan Hooper. And he unfortunately goes round, and then we can see. And then a couple of other cars start to do the same. So Sean McKenzie was also involved in turn 4. So that's, and there goes Sean McKenzie, and then Adam Lavis, of course, gets caught up in that. So we can see that from, so here we go. So Dodge 1 and Dodge 2, and then he snapped the steering a little too hard when he tried to turn left, and he actually gets caught there too. You can hear the collision just there. So unfortunate for him. Hopefully there isn't significant damage on the car.
Yeah, I wonder if he realised that he'd reacted on instinct to turn right around the car, and then realised that actually that might have put him on a collision path with somebody else, so he wanted to get back left as soon as possible. Seems like very instinctual movements, just letting Adam Lavis down a little bit, but did well to avoid both cars initially. Just a shame that he didn't get to reap the benefits, because he would have been well up the order and he managed to stay clear. And Adam Lavis contact with Adam St. John Racing incident on lap 1, so that's a bit of what we were just seeing there. Current order is Schultz ahead of Stark, ahead of Nealon, who's got himself into 3rd position. Then we've got Phil King, Colin Bennett, Tony Baker, and Greg Padgett up from 20th to 7th. And we are only 4.5 minutes into this race, which just shows you how many positions you can make very, very quickly in a Formula E race. And more than one car has had enough in pits, just waiting for the next race, I would imagine. On your screens right now, closest battle on track, that's King, Nealon on Bennett. Less than half a second between all 3 cars from front to back. Hopefully they can avoid making any contact. It's good fun in commentary, we get to see a bit of contact, but doesn't leave much racing for the rest of the race. So hopefully they can keep it clean from here on in and give us a bit of a show, particularly those who don't normally feature so much at the front. This is a great time to show their stuff and show that, yes, they may not quite have the pace yet, but they are getting there and they are ready to start making their mark on what is a great series. If you are not one of the stronger drivers, because that toe helps you so much, it gives you a really good opportunity to learn from the car ahead. It's not like other categories where you're 2-3 tenths slower and all of a sudden they've disappeared within a few laps. Formula V's, if you're 2-3 tenths slower and you're behind someone, you're actually running at the same pace, because the toe will easily be worth that. So you can really learn in these cars, and I think a lot of drivers, even our more established, the more well-known, the what you would call the better drivers, let's face it, they still love the Formula V's because the racing is so good. And we get to see that week in, week out on the Thursday night broadcasts. You should have seen, well, I say seen, heard Zach when he found out the Formula V's were returning to the GSRC. I think it's the most excited I've ever heard him, and I've heard him actually commentating Formula V, so anybody who watches Thursday night streams on the regular will know exactly what I mean as we watch Colin Bennett shaping up for a move on Brendan Nealon going into the ZRSs.
The Formula V's have always been known to be one of the stepping stones in the open wheel series, and of course because of their low power and low weight, they always do tend to provide really good racing. And so it is one of those classes where, although there can be a skill gap, which Aiden Schultz is actually putting on a masterclass right now, 2.5 seconds ahead of Chris Stark at 6:48. So he unless something drastic happens, he'll probably end up taking the win at 4 race 2, as we can see race control just giving a 10-second penalty to... Oh! And as I speak, that's Nealon. Yep, he went way too wide, or way too hot, I should say, into turn 4. That ended up costing him, so that allows Bennett, Colin Bennett to move up into P4 now as he chases down Phil King, who recovered well, actually, from the mistakes of the first race. So Phil King currently P3. Hopefully he'll be able to hold on to that podium position as we see some other moves happening further down the field. That's Cade Donnelly there in P13, who's in a nice little fight as Jake Jackson claws up behind them as well. So that'll be a 4-car train, all fighting for 11th spot at the moment. And it looks like Amber St. John also fighting for P16 down there with Sean McKenzie.
Yeah, what you're seeing there is a great example of the different lines you could take into that corner. So you had Cade on the inside, just got their wheel alongside Pete Matson, which forced him into that wide line. And Pete Matson did his best to carry more momentum, but Cade wasn't able to keep enough momentum up to keep Cade behind them.
He's got
that's contact.
He went in way too deep. Jake knows it. He's pulled over to the side of the road, hoping to do the gentlemanly thing and maybe wait for Pete Matson. I will say this, though. Pete Matson has to be the most unlucky driver on the field. He just gets involved in so many incidents, and they're not his fault. He's just there when they happen.
Yeah, I think it's because he's so often in the midfield, isn't he? He's fast enough that he's rarely at the back. He's usually not quite in that sort of top 5 where you suddenly become a bit safer. He's quite often in that sort of 5th to 15th range where you're just constantly surrounded by cars. You can't break free. You're constantly wheel to wheel, and that just breeds incidents. And yes, I imagine that's a part of it. But like you said, I think he is a really good test case. That's not the word I'm looking for. He's a really good example that luck definitely does exist. It is a thing. At the moment, we're watching Phil King. He's got up 4 positions from 7th to 3rd place to be on the podium for the second race of the night, second race of 3. And this race, of course, being 5 minutes longer than the first race. The first race is almost a warm-up, just an extended qualifying session. We could call it sprint qualifying if we were F1 and run it the day before. But we're going to call a race. Because we don't like lying to people. This is behind him is Colin Bennett, so that's who Phil King will be watching out for. 1.6 seconds to gap at the moment. It'd be interesting to see if that changes before the end of the race. Behind him is Tony Baker. On your screen right now, we've got Greg Badgett and Adam Johnson, who share the mantle for the most positions gained so far in the second race of the night, with both being up 12 positions from 19th and 20th to 7th and 8th on the road. Good to see Greg Padgett out on track.
Yeah, definitely there with the typical black and pink livery scheme that Bean Boss guys tend to run on their cars. And I'm seeing all the gaps starting to really expand there, going from 3rd down. Sean McKenzie in P14, the lone dissident there, 0.3 behind Heaton in P13, as Phil King and Chris Stark are just playing a very slightly aggressive game of leapfrog as they keep changing positions. I believe we'll have one more, and then one more lap, and we'll see the white flag come out based on the 2-minute lap times. Fastest lap at the moment is, I believe, Adam Lavis, 2:01.86, and that was actually his last lap, so he set that on the lap just gone.
Yeah, he's doing what he can to get himself in positions for the next race so that he can mount a real challenge. He's had bucketfuls of pace tonight, but no results so far to show for it because of incidents, many of which have not been his fault. Chris Stark and Phil King side by side right now. I thought it was interesting that going down the straight, they were so far away from each other, given Chris Stark was in that fender bender earlier on where he went into the back of the car. I can't remember who it was, apologies. I think it might be Sean McKenzie. And yes, I just thought that was quite interesting. I haven't seen anything from race control on that yet. I do expect that he might be on the receiving end of a penalty, so it'll be interesting to see whether that is the case and whether those podium positions will change before the end of this race tonight. But race control, not much time to hand out any more penalties, so there might be a bit of adjudicating going on after the races tonight.
Oh, what happened here? So I cut across to see the incident with Stephen Heaton there.
Stark's gone down.
And yeah. Stark has dropped down the order. We'll go back and see what happened here. So Chris Stark was ahead. And, he's just caught too much. And that rear end has gone. Oh, now he's dropped. He's lost 4 positions based on the spin. with only 1 lap to go. That's tragic, but it does mean that Phil King is nice and comfortable in P2. Having said that, that's Colin Bennett and Tony Baker on the back of your screen, and they are fighting hard. Now, wow, that is as far as you can be for 2 people fighting on the main straight of Interlargos. One person took the pit lane strat, the other person took the grandstand strat.
I've never seen 2 cars 2 tenths away from each other and the timings be so far apart on track.
That's exactly right.
Absolutely crazy. Neither of them interested in the slipstream, which is very, very interesting to me. I'd be tied up to the back of the car ahead going up that hill. These little engines, I think you probably feel the lack of grunt going up the hill. They're so weak. I think my girlfriend's little Kia Rio would probably do a better job getting up the hill. But yeah, anyway, they're not interested in it. They're staying way away from each other, not wanting any more contact. They've heard what we said in the commentary about no more crashes for the night boys. We've had plenty of those already. And now they're just showing us some great racing. And Brendan Nealon, Colin Bennett, and Tony Baker involved in this battle for the final podium position. They're going to have 1 more lap after this, and they are just ever so slowly catching Phil King. Tony Baker will definitely be within the slipstream. They might just catch him before the end of the next race and make this a 5-way battle for 2 podium spots.
Yeah, definitely. Aiden Schultz is showing the benefits of having clean air. 5.7 seconds down the road from Phil King in P2. So at his current pace, Aiden Schultz may actually cross a line before that 15-minute marker. And so we thought we only had 1 lap to go, but I believe, again, if he holds up this pace, then we will actually have an extra lap. And so I'll have to keep an eye on that and just make sure that I am correct, as Aiden Schultz is coming across the top of the rise now. So if we have a look to the left hand of your screen, we should see Barney. Oh, no, I'm 1 corner behind. There we go. Now they're coming up to the pit entry. So Barney should be on the left side of the screen here, waving a flag. Is it white or is it checkered? It is white. So we do have 1 more. He crosses the line with 30 seconds to go, which will be an absolute miracle for the cars behind. One of those being Brendan Nealon in P5 right now, trying to chase on the right side of Colin Bennett, and does get it done. So the Pulse boys really are working together well. And so Colin Bennett drops down to P5, and they have another lap to see if Tony Baker, with 0.5 of a gap to P2. Phil King felt like his position was secured, but now we're not so sure. So as we dwindle down this last lap, Aiden Schultz is well and truly got the win in the bag. Of course, if he accidentally spins or messes up, that'll be in jeopardy, but otherwise it'll be smooth sailing. And the real battle is going to be with the 4 cars on your screen now.
Yeah, we got our wish. This has become a 4-car battle for 2 positions on the podium. The top 2, Phil King and Tony Baker, they're about to go side by side. Behind them, you've got Brendan Nealon and Colin Bennett. So you've got Tony Baker. Yes, he has. So Tony Baker's in a quadruple extra livery. The lead pulse tuning driver is Tony Baker. Second pulse tuning is Brendan Nealon, and behind them is Colin Bennett. Do not rule anything else. They're going around the pin arena right now, and they have got 3 or 4 corners to make a difference. 3 or 4 corners is enough in a Formula V to make 3 spots. If you are Colin Bennett at the back of this pack, right now you've got to be diving down the inside, trying to get past Brendan Nealon. Nope, uses his brain, unlike me. Decided he's going to wait for the better opportunity. Coming out of Junkow, figure the mega slipstream he's going to get. Figure the mega slipstream. Phil King's going to get behind Tony Baker. He was in second for so long, he does not want to give that up. Behind them, Brendan Nealon's just saying, you know what, you two, hold each other up a little bit. I'll come storming through for second place. Thank you very much. Whoa. Phil King tries to carry too much speed, goes a bit wide. That's going to compromise him. I think that's going to give second place to Tony Baker. That is far too much distance for him to make up just on the slipstream, but will it let Brendan Nealon slip into 3rd place? Way ahead of them, blissfully unaware of everything happening behind him. Aiden Schultz, he's had a clean race, straight to the front, wins it by 6 seconds. That is domination of Formula V. Now we've got Baker, King, Nealon, Bennett coming across the line all about the same time. And they stay in that order. Baker, King, Nealon, Bennett. So Nealon just misses out on the podium. Baker and King get 2nd and 3rd.
So Adam Johnson and Greg Padgett are still fighting. There they are on your screen now. Adam Johnson, of course, in the bright orange livery. Greg Padgett's trying to go side, but he will get beaten just there. And it looks like Adam Lavis and Kay Donnelly do the same. As for everyone else, they are 2 spread apart, and so they will cross the line on their own pace. But That was a close one there. Tony Baker did end up taking it from Phil King, but Phil King did an amazing job to maintain P3 and will still get the stand on that podium.
Yeah, the good thing about Phil King, or saved him a little bit there, because Formula V's don't have that much power, and just handling with characteristics of the car, you can afford to go a bit wider there and not lose as much momentum as you do with other cars. And a lot of cars should be getting out the throttle, or at least delaying getting on the throttle, and that would kill you going up that hill. I think in the Formula V's, he was able to keep it planted and lose a bit of momentum, but not as much. And that kept him in touch, just not quite enough to get back ahead of Tony Baker in the end. So this is your result for race 2, and what will be your grid for race 3. Aiden Schultz taking the victory, Tony Baker in 2nd, Phil King in 3rd, Neil in 4th, Bennett in 5th, Stark in 6th, Johnson in 7th, Paget in 8th, Henderson in 9th, and Lavis rounding out the top 10. Behind them, you had Kate Donnelly with a good recovery after an early contact, Sean McKenzie in 12th, Gary Wellman in 13th, Matson in 14th, St. John in 15th, Keamy in 16th, Heaton in 17th, Jackson in 18th and retired, in 19th, and Hooper in 20th. So, how many incidents are we going to have on that one this time round, do you reckon?
Hopefully none. Now, look, although incidents do tend to spice up races sometimes, and we like it when the chaos happens, it's with Formula Vs, the issue with them is like, I don't even know how to put this, but it's like the Formula Vs don't go fast enough to make the crashes super interesting. Like when you're in a massive pack, it's different. So turn 1 is obviously different. And usually what happens with turn 1, as we've seen in both race 1 and race 2, here specifically in Brazil, it happens in a bunch of other tracks, but we're talking about Interlargos, is that you've got cold tires, it's a standing start, you go in a little bit too hot, and you give just... Actually, that was... I don't know if you guys caught about that, but that was the perfect explanation. It was in the pit lane. You just give it a little bit too much input, and the car's not ready, the tires aren't ready, they're very thin, they don't have a lot of tread, and the car just spins. And the problem is that everybody is expecting you not to do that. And so when you do that, they have to start to think. And we saw a great example of this with Adam Lavis. He managed to dodge one, another person slides out in front of him, he manages to dodge the second one, probably feeling really good, and then just puts a little bit too much input to the left, and the car ends up taking a turn. So I'm hoping that we have a cleaner one, because the grid have had 2 races to figure it out, but these are race drivers, and their entire objective is to go fast and be the first one out the gate. So I'm not too sure. I really am not sure. I think that maybe we'll see less incidents over the course of the race, but we will most likely see a fairly significant one, at least on the first lap.
Yeah, and it's because of the layout of the track. It just breeds collisions in turn 1 in these cars. It's actually weirdly almost one of those tracks that suits faster cars a bit better. Most tracks don't. The faster the car, the less it suits it, almost regardless of series, except for maybe Spa. I'd put Interlargos the same boat, because turn 1 allows so many different lines. In Formula V's, you end up with too many different options because they're so narrow that you can get 4 wide through the center S's and have a chance of making it through. And what it does is it encourages everybody to go side by side through the S's, when really you shouldn't be going more than 2 by 2 at the very, very most, because then you are really risking getting into trouble. And we'll see if anybody heeds my advice this time round. There's a slow start there. I believe that's Hendo and Kate Donnelly. You're both struggling to get off the line. Sean McKenzie and Adam Lavis, the big beneficiaries. Lavis up 2 before they even get anywhere near turn 1. Tony Baker in the lead. He's got the lead from Aiden Schultz, who is in 2nd place, and then Phil King in 3rd, and Brendan Nealon in 4th. So they're going to continue that battle. Nealon just getting done around the outside there by Colin Bennett. And then back in the back, that's Lavis. Is that Lavis?
No, that was Gary Wellman, and it looks like Pete Matson couldn't avoid as the unlucky bolt strikes again on poor Pete Matson. And so, unfortunately, those 2 are off, and it looks like Philip Howe also went for an adventure down the back of the pack.
Yeah, and that was Schultz and Baker going side by side for the lead down to Renato Acosta. And then you had Lavis and Stark going side by side as well, and now he's going side by side with Corey Bennett pretty much. So Lavis making the moves on lap 1. He's up 5 spots already. He's had enough of the incidents, and thankfully he's got further than he did last race already without suffering any contact. This is Hendo. He was looking strong pace-wise, but just got caught out in race 1. I'm not sure what happened to him in race 2. I don't quite remember.
Oh, Lavis got
contact,
tagged.
Chris Stark. Nealon and Lavis. Nealon and Lavis there, I think. Or was it Starkey? Might have been Starkey.
So it looks like Lavis and Stark were involved. There's a little bit of a tap, no spin, which is good, and it doesn't look like there's any damage either, but that has allowed Colin Bennett to get away just a little bit as we see them in a pack of their own. It looks like the 4 out the front and then a 2-second gap to P5 there, which is Adam Lavis at the moment. Adam Johnson trying to go on the inside of Greg Paget as they come up the hill. Didn't quite work, so he will fall behind. As Tony Baker and Aiden Schultz always trading places there, but this time they've got 2 other cars to contend with. And wow, they are really stretching this out. That's 3 wide now. It looks like Colin Bennett is taking the better approach and using the slipstream, hoping to stay on the inside for turn 1. And that's going to have Phil King on the outside here. So Tony Baker on the inside, Aiden Schultz inside the in between them. And as they resolve, Tony Baker will come out P1, Aiden Schultz P2, Phil King P3, Colin Bennett P4.
Yeah, just want to call out that message we had on screen from Race Control with people being cautioned for their conduct under yellow flags. That is something that the GSRC over the last season or two has started to really try and crack down on, people trying to take advantage of yellow flags, and particularly in the Vs. Because of that pack racing, you can make a lot of positions if you floor it under a yellow flag. But really, as soon as you see a yellow flag, your priority should be getting through safely, not causing any more incidents, and then getting racing again. So they're trying to be a bit harder on people trying to gain an advantage under yellow flags and increasing the danger for those around them. So interesting to see that message from Race Control. Definitely something they're aware of. And thanks again to Race Control for the work they do. The only reason we have such great racing, I know first 2 races have been full of contact, but they'll get that sorted out. And GSRC has some of the best racing that I have seen on iRacing because the conduct of the members is they're kept to account pretty well by our Race Control. Up in the front now, you're watching Baker and Schultz. Schultz trying to go around the outside, taking that faster line, but not quite getting it right, taking the grass over there. That's going to leave him vulnerable, and indeed, King and Bennett, I think, are going to get ahead of him there. So just Tony Baker just got a little bit of a gap, a little bit of comfort going around Junkow. So he should be safe going down into turn 1. There you go, just confirming 8 drive-throughs handed out last night due to lack of caution under yellows. Just shows you how much they are cracking down on it, which is really good to see because it's that was ambitious from the pulse tuning entry there, trying to get up the inside of Adam Lavis, and Lavis being sent round, as was the pulse tuning entry. And now we're back live again. We're going back to this battle at the front between Baker, Schultz, King, and Bennett. King and Schultz side by side. Baker ahead of them, and then Bennett with a watching brief behind, just hoping that something's going to happen and he can take advantage.
I'm just going to mention real quick. Saw Josh just popping up in the chat that 8 drive-throughs ended, as you said, Liam. I think I know what the issue might be. Why is the flag yellow? Hear me out. Nobody in Australia slows for a yellow light. And so I think we've just ruined ourselves because everyone's going to see that colour and think, oh, I need to speed up.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. By God, I think he's got it.
That might be the reason. Everyone, look, I'll be the first person to put my hand up sometimes. And this is not something you'd ever do in real life motorsport because there are proper risks for doing so. And you don't have the wherewithal, of course, to know exactly where the incident is, things like that. But in sim racing, yeah, we are well and truly guilty of that. Most people just see it as a chance to make up positions. And the iRacing does not have a strict enough rule set to allow you to properly enforce a yellow, because if it knows that there's a yellow and a car makes an overtake during a yellow, then surely it could just tell that car to give the position back. It works under safety car. So I don't understand why iRacing doesn't have that ability to do that outside. But we all know the issues with iRacing and how it does its rule set, and so we just have to deal with what we have. It's for the same reason hospitals have 8 codes and they chose external emergency to go under code brown. It's because it passes countless eyes, but people can't see the obvious. Yep, that's pretty much it.
I think motor racing should adopt something similar to the fire safety system, where it's either basically nothing or extreme. And it's just
That's
very,
so
very...
true. That's so true. That is such an Australian thing too. I actually had a friend of mine from overseas comment on that, but it's just like, how is it that high is your lowest setting? Actually, I believe it's moderate. Moderate is the lowest setting, and then there's catastrophic. And they're like, how bad are your fires? And I'm like, yeah, they're pretty bad.
I think it's moderate, high, extreme, and catastrophic. So I think yellow flags need to be the equivalent of extreme. It needs to be just like people all around, just like waving them violently, trying to make people understand how important it is. I'll interrupt that banter for a second because we've got cars going 4 wide there pretty much. So that's Schultz, King, and Baker. That's a King with great support in the watching tonight. So going to start cheering for King, I think, just based on the amount of viewers that he's got. Thank you very much for watching and for getting involved in the comments on the various streams that we've got. We're live on multiple platforms tonight. Kevin Henderson has got the lead at some point. We've missed that. Aiden Schultz is in second, King's in third, Baker in fourth, Colin Bennett in fifth. But basically, ignore those positions. All you need to know is they are in a pack, and they're going to be swapping positions from here until the end of the race, barring somebody making a mistake or there being contact.
Yeah, we have 15 minutes, of course, for this last race, which means we should see a couple of extra laps. 7 minutes 38 at the moment, 4 laps in. Kevin Henderson leading this pack, and he's doing a great job at it. Aiden Schultz is very close by, as is the other 3 cars in the back, and they, like you said, they've been swapping positions this entire time, and they've kept a decent gap to the cars behind. But the problem is Chris Stark is making waves. That was 2.5 seconds back at one stage. It's now 1.3, and as we've mentioned previously on the broadcast, the slipstream in these cars is strong. Now, the only benefit for the 5 cars up the front is going to be that they're all going to have an added benefit of draft. They can't bump draft because the front of these cars is a point, and that would be a bad thing. You'll just damage the hell out of the front. Is that 5 wide? No, it's 4.
4 wide. Oh, that's a gap.
Oh, no, they've hit each other.
Nintendo.
Oh, hold your brakes, boys. Hold your brakes. Actually, Kevin Henderson took the Ejecto-Cedo cars option and went straight off the track in order to not hit anybody. And we'll try and go back and see that on the replay when we can. But boy, has that shuffled the grid up substantially. Phil King now in the lead of this race, to the excitement of a lot of the people watching at home. And Aiden Schultz is very close behind as we see 3 wide at the back there. That's Chris Stark, Kevin Donnelly, and Sean McKenzie. And the leaderboard is lighting up like crazy, but it looks like Chris Stark will take the inside line, and he'll make it work.
And he saw what Chris Stark did there. He didn't want to make Mackenzie feel comfortable in the middle. He held him as tight as he dared without causing contact. Came very, very close to causing contact, but in the end, judged it perfectly. Compromised Mackenzie as much as he could and got the position.
So Tony Baker got squeezed, had nowhere to go, and with the open wheel, of course, that is the danger. And so you can see him just taking the damage, not wanting to get anywhere in the way. But Kevin Henderson... Oh! I did not see that. We'll watch that again. But I just wanted to point out Kevin Henderson saw the cars coming and thought, you know what? This is the safe spot. And so he just rolled out of the way. But what I didn't see was that rejoin there. I believe that's Jake Jackson. We'll jump on board with him and see it from his view. Oh, no. And I can't imagine that's going to be looked at.
Yes, that's going to get a hefty penalty. I imagine that's the what's the word I'm looking for? It's just what you absolutely most want to avoid, right? It's easy to avoid because you can just hold the brakes. You can just pay better attention to what's around you. Of course, we all make mistakes. We're all human. You want to get back in the race. Your instincts are telling you to get going. It feels horrible when you're not moving in a race car. You know the cars around you are moving. You know you're losing positions. And not only that, even in a sim, you feel exposed. You feel like someone's could hit you and you're not going to know anything about it, so you just want to get off. And I think we saw a bit of that and just making a misjudgment. And
he's gone right over him.
Yep.
He went right over him there. I could see it developing as they came into turn 1, and unfortunately it did end up developing into an incident. We'll try and go back and have a look at that. But basically what's happened here, Phil King has come around that first turn, and that's Colin Bennett. Yeah, bang right over. That is not great. You can see the displeasure of those at home. We'll try and watch that again from here. So here Just Colin got a little too close. There's the spin. Couldn't go anywhere.
I think Phil might need a Spreyton non-alcoholic cider to make him feel better after that.
He ran over my boy. He did, and unfortunately that's meant Phil King has gone down. But to nobody's expecting, Kate Donnelly has managed to navigate all of that and is P1. He's 10 positions up from the start of the race and is now leading all of the people we thought that would lead this race. That's Aiden Schultz, Phil King. It was Tony Baker as well up there. They're all down. And now Sean McKenzie, and actually it's those three again. They're fighting, and it looks like Aiden Schultz is in it as well.
Yeah, he certainly is. And Sean McKenzie's at the back of this pack. Sean McKenzie, a multiple Formula V winner in previous seasons. So he's very dangerous. Chris Stark is very dangerous. He's always at the front. Aiden Schultz is very dangerous. He's always front. And then they got Cade, who honestly, I don't know that much about Cade. I haven't seen him race much. But he's at the front, so he's obviously a decent peddler as well. And they're going 4 wide down the main straight, going towards the centre S's. That's Cade Donnelly and Chris Stark at the front. Then you got Aiden Schultz trying to make it 3 wide. Sean McKenzie with a watching brief, but he's about to get involved. He's going all the way around the outside. 4 wide into the centre S's. Oh, 4 into 2 doesn't go, but they've made it work. Aiden Schultz in the lead. No, Chris Stark spanning around on the outside. Sean McKenzie in third. Donnelly in second, losing the lead. Schultz takes the lead. Great courage from all drivers. Great skill to get round relatively cleanly. Chris Stark's not quite able to hang on around the outside. And 4 became 3. I tell you what, if you're that second pack of King, Paget, and Stark, I'm thinking I'm in this, because I'm not betting on these 3 to get to the end of the race at this point, because they have been battling hard for multiple laps before they even got anywhere near the podium positions. These 3 drivers were battling, and they're continuing to do so as they approach Ferradura.
I started this race off by saying that hopefully our drivers have learned over the previous 2 races to not have incidents. And I believe the most incidents tonight have been in race 3. So what that says is I'm definitely not psychic, and I'm also incorrect.
I could have told you weren't psychic before the start of the race, but go on.
No, that's fair. I had an inkling. My grandmother told me once, but I'm glad to be proven wrong. So, Cade Donnelly leading this race. Now, here's the thing that I didn't pay attention to previously. I don't know if we'll get a white flag this lap or if this is the final one. It's cutting it close. I don't know if it's a minute to the line. I don't think it is. I think it's just under. So we should have 1 extra lap of racing. We'll try and keep an eye on Barney as they come to the line. Sean McKenzie up in P2. Aiden Schultz is trying to keep it on the inside. Decides to go for the slipstream. What does the flag say? It's white flag. We still have 1 lap to go. So that will be good news for Schultz there. But Jesus, you cannot separate these 3 at all. Now, hopefully they learn. Don't go in too hot. Don't go in too fast. That's Kate Donnelly on the inside. Sean McKenzie in the middle. And Aiden Schultz bringing up the rear of the 3. And they go through cleanly, but behind them, that's Phil King, Greg Paget, and Chris Stark. And they also go through cleanly. Actually, I thought there was some contact, but there was not. My mistake. And we'll move back to that lead pack.
Yeah, we certainly will, where Sean McKenzie is on for his first win of the night with Kate Donnelly and Schultz, but he's been relegated down to 3rd. As I say that, Kate Donnelly taking back the lead that he last had a couple of laps ago, with Aiden Schultz in 2nd place as they approach Ferradura. And Sean McKenzie and Aiden Schultz going side by side. They're going to be careful not to compromise each other too much, because they do not want to let Cade get away. As long as they're close, they know they can make the difference on the final straight and on the exit of John Cow. So they're going to have to be careful, because they've got eyes on a bigger prize. 2nd isn't the goal here. 1st is, and they both need to remain aware of that, and they're doing so far, taking it nice and clean around the stop. All of them just using their brain, making sure they're in it to win the end with only a couple of corners remaining.
The last lap, Kate Donnelly doing well here at the front. Aiden Schultz close behind, and Sean McKenzie also with a target ahead of him. 8 seconds to the car in P4. That is Chris Stark, Greg Paget, and Phil King in that group. Then 2 seconds to Wellman in P7. Pete Matson, Adam Lavis, and Brendan Nealon make up the top 10. Here they go to the line. Kay Donnelly in the lead. He knows that the draft is dangerous. He's doing a little bit of a squeeze to Aiden Schultz, who's trying to go on the outside. Sean McKenzie tries to snipe. Looks like he's going to look to the inside. It's going to be 3 to the line, side by side. Sean McKenzie by a nose. And Kay Donnelly takes P3. Oh, that's got to be rough. As we see Chris Stark now, Greg Paget comes across in P4, an excellent position for him. Well done. Brendan Nealon there in P9, and now everybody else will cross at their own pace. But at the front, 0.08 split Sean McKenzie and Schultz for P1 and 2, and Kay Donnelly, they cross the line at the same time. I'm not sure. I won't be able to get a photo finish angle. We don't have that camera angle here at Interlargos, but my lord, what a race.
That was phenomenal. I think there were more drivers that had the lead at one point than didn't in the field. Such was the topsy-turvy nature of this one, with collisions constantly shaking up what we thought was a well-established order. And by well-established, we mean it had been that way for about half a lap. Because of how fast this race moved, despite the slow speeds of the cars involved. So Sean McKenzie does get the win. Aiden Schultz in second. Kay Donnelly, despite leading through Juncal in the final lap, finishes in third place. Don't know what they could have done. They'll analyse that in their brain tonight when they're trying to sleep, and definitely trying to figure out how they could have won the race, but I don't know if it was possible with the slipstream behind them. Greg Paget takes a sneaky fourth place with Chris Stark behind him, and then Phil King, who looked good for the victory before a unfortunate incident with, I believe it was Brendan Nealon, puts him down into 6th. Gary Mullins in 7th, up 6+ spot. Adam Lavis recovered to 8th after some early incidents. Brendan Nealon in 9th, and Pete Matson gets the final position in the top 10. That's Aiden Schultz benefiting from the toe of Sean McKenzie after McKenzie managed to sneak the whole car ahead of Cade. Anyway, it's basically a case of whoever got behind Sean was going to get second place, and it was Schultz just using his racing IQ to get ahead there.
I'm so close.
Oh, didn't be able to catch my breath before we have some drivers come in, and we'll conduct some interviews before we take you over to the Porsche Cup at Silverstone. Those cars are going to go significantly quicker, but I think the race will go a little bit slower, if you catch my drift. We've already gone through the top 10, so we'll go through the rest of them for you. Adam Johnson finished in 11th place, with Adam St. John behind him. So the Adams taking the bulk of the middle positions in 8th, 11th and 12th. Then you got Stephen Henton in 13th, Colin Bennett in 14th, despite running at the front for much of the race. Tony Baker in 15th. Kevin Henderson was in the lead at one point, ended up retiring 3 laps down in 15th. Then you got Jake Jackson, who we saw being the victim of a pretty dreadful rejoin from, I believe it was Tony Baker, and getting a 15-second penalty for that, and I'm sure some penalty points. Philip Ho in 18th. Luke Kimi in 19th, and Jonathan Hooper in 20th. I think the major storyline out of this might be that we're going to have a reduced grid for the next race, quite possibly. The next race, of course, will be in a week's time, coming to you from Brands Hatch. Oh my god, that's going to be spectacular.
Just so, I think we've got a couple of people here. Let's see if they're available.
Alright, so in the comms booth, we've been joined by Aiden Schultz, Sean McKenzie, and Greg Paget. I believe Aiden Schultz just pipped the other two to the commentary line, so we'll go to Schultzy first. Schultz, did you think the win was on in that final race coming out of Juncal?
First of all, good evening to you, Banksy and Daniel. Good evening, boys. No, I didn't. I was in second. I wanted to be in third, but Macca had other ideas, and he got it. So I was just trying to salvage a podium there after not being good in these cars. So I'm surprised I was even there, to be honest.
When you watch the replay, you may understand why you got there. It was a dramatic series of races. Not to put too fine a point on it, it was well, let's just say there was chaos from start to finish in all 3 races, and more drivers had the lead than didn't at some point over the 3 rounds. But you did well. You kept your nose relatively clean in that final race and managed to work your way to the front. Do you want to talk us through a couple of the earlier races? 'Cause I think you were involved in a couple of incidents earlier on.
Yeah, so race 1, turn 1, lap 2, completely on me. I didn't think they were going to break that early, and I got into the back of someone, so got a penalty for that one. Raced my way back, which put me off the front row for the second one. And as you said, there was carnage, and I just sort of stayed out of it and got the gap and tried to keep consistent and got the win. And then in the last one, I think there was a little bit more carnage, not as much, but once we sort of got a gap, I just sort of stayed in behind them and just sort of like, yeah, we were racing hard side by side, but I knew like if we had contact, it'd be all over. So it was good racing by the gentleman, and yeah, it was good fun. And yeah, I knew it was a 1, 2, and 3 between us, and we could see the other guys coming as well. It was unfortunate to see, I think it might have been Phil King got into an incident as well. So if he would have still been there, it probably would have been a 5-way battle. But either way, mate, I'll take it. It was happy. It was a nice night at the office, and good to see Shauno get a win and come away clean in a car. Like I said, I am not comfortable in at all.
Yeah, it's surprising, isn't it? You'd think being the entry-level open wheeler, they'd be really easy to drive, but they're actually really easy to spin, aren't they?
They are, especially on cold tyres. With the draft models now, as you would have seen it tonight, no doubt, like you can come in out of a corner in first and go into the next corner in fifth if you've got a big freight train. It's just about people giving a bit of respect and a bit of room, because it all comes down to that last lap, and you saw that in that last race, and that's where Macca put his car in the right position to capitalise on that. So yeah, it was good. I'm a bit disappointed. I wish it would have been a little bit cleaner, because all the boys in there are great fellas, and I think it just, that car sort of creates that racing, and not the crashes per se, but we give each other a bit more room. We probably would have seen a 10-car freight train in all the races, but hey, we live and we learn, and this track definitely does bode for some good drafting with those long straights. So it was a good night.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It would have been nice to see a few less incidents, and we do see, I think, in the Formula V's, they've proven time and time again that they can have that racing without the incidents. We've seen some really good racing throughout multiple seasons in the Formula V's before they had that little sojourn and went on the calendar for a couple of seasons, ever since they came back. And before then, we've had clean racing, but sometimes it does take a round or two just for everyone to get the feel back and get used to it again, because it's so different to any other car you'll race on this service.
Yeah, 100%, mate. And there's a lot of different skill levels too, mate. So throughout the field, and that's through iRacing in general. So, but in this car, like I looked at qualifying, and people that were a second behind in qualifying, you know, that meant nothing in the race, because the draft was that big that you could have sat in 10th the whole race if there was no crashes and drafted to the lead. So. But no, it was good racing. I hope you enjoyed the last race, because I don't know, it felt behind the wheel like it was great racing. Would have been good to watch.
Oh, it was. Me and Daniel were shouting all over the place. So yeah, you definitely kept us entertained. Thanks heaps for your comments, and congratulations on your second place in the final race of the night, and look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, no worries, mate. And thank you, boys, for chucking on the broadcast. And just a quick shout out real quickly. Thank you to the Quantum Motorsports guys and the Golden Octopus Foundation, racing for charity. So thanks to those guys. They were there chatting to me tonight as well, and we'll go off and we'll see whether we can crash the Porsche lap 1.
Excellent. Good luck with the Porsche. We'll be live for that as well, so please do join us again.
No worries. Thanks, guys. Take care.
We'll move on to Greg Paget, one of the most active members of the club. Races just about anything he can get his hands on for the Bean Boss boys, who always have a healthy showing in pretty much all of our series. How was your racing tonight, Greg?
Oh, it was a lot of fun, mate. I got a 7th and a 4th, I think, and the first race was my worst. I started the second race from last place, I think, and got it up to 7th. That was good fun. And it will be my last season as a Bean Boss racer. We've lost a couple of drivers, but I want to thank Sue and John Hatton of Bean Boss Coffee for their support. You know? So yeah, had a good battle with Chris in that last race. Just got him on the line.
Yeah, it was. You won a couple of good battles. I remember calling you out for being quite high up in. Was it race 1? Race 1 or 2? It was one of the two.
Race 2 was race
Yeah.
1 was 20th.
Yeah, it must have been race 2 then. Must have been race 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, sad to hear about that, about the Big Mus boys. They've been a mainstay of the GSRC for multiple seasons now, so that's a real shame.
Yeah, we're down 2 drivers now at the moment. Adam's got his own team. Brendan just was enjoying himself, so he quit.
Yep.
Without the extra drivers, it's basically only me racing now.
Well, the only constant in life is change, isn't it? So,
Yeah,
the end of one thing, the start of something new, hopefully.
yeah, it'll be new for me anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So other than your results, any notable incidents in your race that you'd like to talk about or talk us through?
Oh, well, when I first come back after my operation and that, I was struggling to get my right foot down. It was just gradually lifting off, but I've been working hard on physio and that, and it's getting better now. Look out.
That's really good to hear. So we'll see you battling higher up the grid on a more regular basis from now on then.
Well, I hope so. To get up to 4th against these guys is a really good result, and I'll be happy.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks very much for joining us. As always, Greg, a regular in the commentary booth. And good luck in your next race. When is your next race? What are you racing next?
Won't be till next Tuesday, up and coming, mate. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we're racing now.
Excellent. Well, look forward to seeing you in the up and comers, and good luck in your race.
All right, thanks, Liam, and thanks to you and Daniel for the broadcast, mate. Appreciate it.
Thanks heaps for joining us. Always appreciate it.
No worries, mate. Take it easy.
And we'll move on to the third and final driver we've got in the box with us at the moment, which is Sean McKenzie, winner of the final race. Should we call it the main race? We'll call it the main race. Congratulations on your victory. Very close run, Fring. How confident were you coming out of the final corner in third that you would be able to make that jump with the help of the toe?
Pretty confident as long as I nailed the corner. So once I actually went through the corner, I knew it was pretty good. Except for I did have a problem where I went, as we were doing the final draft, I had to go through the middle and I was a bit worried I was going to get squeezed and we were going to have a bit of a crash, but we managed to stay apart, so that was good.
Yeah, I definitely had my heart in my mouth at that moment. That was just on screen with yourself and was it Starkey?
Yeah.
He's trying to keep you free wide. And he's trying to give you as little space as possible, trying to hope that maybe he could scare you to back out of it. And you were just holding on in there. I thought for sure that was going to be wheels getting tangled, but you did so well to be able to hold that middle line, not be too intimidated, and not to crash into anyone. Let's put it bluntly.
Yeah, it was very, very, very close, but it was good racing, so it was made up for the first 2 races anyway.
Yeah, a few incidents in the first 2.
Yeah, I got a bit unlucky getting caught up in a few things, but that's racing, so.
Yeah, I think every driver who raced tonight will be able to say that 2 out of 3 races they got caught in incidents, or 3 out of 3. I don't think there's anybody who had more than one relatively clean race.
Yeah, I won't lie, I was pretty happy when I saw the big bingle ahead of us, and then we all got into 1, 2 and 3, and it was just between us in the last couple of laps, so.
Yeah, that was some really good racing there, really good, clean racing. And I had to say, I felt sorry for Cade leading out of the final corner. And he had yourself coming up, he had Aiden going around the outside. And then you looked to go towards the inside. So Cade dove towards the inside to try and cover you off. So you went up the middle and we got the win anyway.
Yeah, it was good that I got a few laps with Cade earlier on in the race so I could figure out how he raced. So there was a couple of times in the last laps I knew what he was going to do. So
yeah, and there's that incident that promoted the 3 of you into first, second and third.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really bad luck. Phil King raced really well, was up towards the front for most of the race. Benefited of a bit of luck to get into first, but it was well deserved. And then, no fault of his own, that incident. Just got tapped around the rear. And it was actually probably the most innocuous incident of the night. It was such a minor touch, but just one of those minor touches with a big consequence.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the replay. So I am also looking forward to seeing if you actually got as loud as the regular bloke who commentates. I've forgotten his name.
I don't think anybody
Nobody can do that. It's actually not possible. I can maybe come a close second, but mate, when it's Formula V's and Zach Caven, I'm telling you, loudest man on the planet.
Yeah, mate. If Australia ever gets invaded, they won't need warning sirens for any night raids. They'll just get Zach.
Well, as I did that move down the middle, I was thinking Zach's going to have done a hernia while that was going on. So I'm glad he wasn't commentating because, yeah.
That move may have been the only move of its kind of tonight that worked. Because any time someone was in the middle going down that straight, just carnage. Absolute carnage. So when I saw you doing that, I had the same thought. I saw that and I went, man, you are like 200 meters from the line. Let's not. But then everyone just gave enough room. And the buffer was there. And I just thought, oh, wow, he might actually make this work. And sure enough, shot up there and got the win.
Yeah, sometimes everything turns out all right, huh?
There was also one incident. I don't know where it is, though, so I don't think I'm going to be able to find it. But I can't remember who it was, but they spun here on the first turn, and you were so lucky not to be taken out.
Yes.
Oh, it's here, actually. I think it's that. Yep, that's the one. That was it. Chris Stark. And, so he just narrowly missed you there as well. So that was lucky, and then that left you guys to be just the 1, 2, 3 to the end of the race.
Yeah, and then there was 3.
That's it.
It's so interesting in the V's because they, the way I describe it is it's almost more like oval racing. Because, they say in track racing, it's you versus the track. And in oval racing, it's you versus the other drivers. In the V's, it's both. Because it's much more pack racing and much closer. So you are spending a lot more time battling with drivers. Like, I think it was Schultz, he said earlier, drivers that are a second and a lap off in qualifying, all of a sudden they're staying with you in the race because of the slipstream. They're still involved. They're still a threat. Whereas that wouldn't be the case in most cars. But you still have to battle. You're still doing lefts and rights, unlike an oval. So they're really interesting. I think it's almost its own breed of racing.
Yeah, I think of it sort of like chess, racing chess. That's why I like it the most out of all the other cars, because the pack racing's so tight and you really got to set yourself up to be in the right position. Like I wanted to be in third position at that last corner. So yeah, it's a thinking man's racing.
Yes, it very much is. And I think we've got to get over to the Porsche Cup, do we not, Daniel?
Yes, we do. I'm just porting us over now, and hopefully we'll just catch them at the end of qualifying.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Sean. What are you racing next?
Just this next week. I'm just doing this and real racing. So.
Excellent. How's the real racing going?
We start in March, so just getting the car prepped.
Well, good luck with that. Keep us up to date once you do start in March. It's always good to hear what people are doing in the real world. And good luck with the Formula V's next week, and we'll catch you then.
No worries. Have a good call, boys.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
See ya.
Oh, there we go. We finished with the Formula V's for the night. We've had a dessert before we get into our main course, which is, of course, the Porsche Cup. They had round 1 last week, and that was won by Matty Dench with Corey Lazarus in second place, Tao Serrano in third, and Jamie Christensen making an appearance and finishing in 4th place. So some really big names in there, some really fast drivers. Corey's been threatening to maybe make the jump start, really putting pressure on Dench for a few seasons now, hasn't quite got there, but has been very fast. Tao Serrano, I've seen in other categories, I know he is a looming quick driver. As is Jamie Christensen. Both of them can pull something special out of the bag. We've also got the likes of Ben Pedersen returning, Dane Snadden, who won the amateur series a few seasons ago, stepped up to the pros and has done fantastically, as is Paul Wilson. So some really good drivers in there. Hopefully we'll see a few of them tonight. We're just making the crossover from one iRacing session to the next. And once we've done that, we'll be able to bring you live footage. of the end of qualifying. Welcome back, everyone, to a second offering of the night. It is the Porsche Cup live from Silverstone. It is one of the greatest tracks in the world, and today we've got a little bit of a special treat for you. Instead of running the current configuration, we are running the 2007 configuration, I believe. So we'll be starting at Cops and running straight into the Beckett's complex, down the hangar straight into Stowe, round through Vale, around to Club, and then down through Abbey and Bridge. So a few corners that you might not have seen on your screens recently, but we'll be bringing them to you tonight with the Porsche Cup cars. Got a pretty stacked field for you. Just before the break, I was going through some of the names that we had last week, and I just got a run through from Daniel on what happened last week, as I was unable to watch. And it sounds like it was a very, very close race, and we're in for another close race here tonight. Matty Dench winning it on fuel basically last time out by all accounts, but with Corey and Tao matching him for pace, and right now in qualifying it is Corey Lazarus with the fastest time and Tao in third with Matty Dench sandwiched in between them. These are your conditions for the race: 18 degrees both air and track temperature, so don't expect that to fluctuate too much during the race. Partly cloudy, with 9 kilometers an hour of wind, so pretty much as always for the GSRC, perfect conditions. No sign of rain yet, on for this race or on iRacing as a whole. But it's coming. We keep being told it's coming. It's like one of those F1 races where they say it's going to be a wet race, and then they're always saying, oh, the rain's 5 minutes away. The rain's 5 minutes away. That's what iRacing is doing to us. At one point, it's going to drop, and it's going to be glorious or diabolical, depending on who you talk to. Here on screen, we've got Corey Lazarus for Car Electrical Solutions. He is fastest man on track right now in the Spreyton Cider Porsche Cup Round 2. Daniel alongside me once again. He's just getting everything set up as we move towards the race with 2 minutes left of qualifying. So these are the laps that are going to count for pretty much every driver out on track right now.
Yeah, so Corey Lazarus, 1:48.41. Fastest on the track so far. Matty Dench, very close behind, only 0.2 of a second. 1:48.7. We know what Matthew Dench is like. He will leave things to the last minute to crack on, but a very fast field. Look at that. Teo Sereno with a 1:48.8 and Ben Faulkner with a 1:48.81. So, and then Adam Hayne there, 1:48.83. So, 0.03 of a second split, P3, 4, and 5. As we have Dave Dench wishing Matt good luck. I'm sure he doesn't need it. But having said that, we did see at least more of a challenge than one would see to Matt Dench in that first race. But again, his just wizardry came to light and he just stormed ahead. So we'll see if anybody's learnt anything from that, or maybe the legacy layout may trip him up. But if I know Matt Dench, I don't think that'll be the case. In any way you cut it, I think we'll be in for a cracker 40 minutes.
Yeah, we absolutely will. Got a few unclassified drivers out there tonight. So you see those drivers with the black next to their names, the black background with the gold writing for the number. That's your elite drivers. The gold with the white is your open class drivers, and then those with the red, they haven't been assigned a class yet, although judging by the positions of Serrano and Bidgood, they will almost certainly be making their way into the elite class once they've got a couple of races in the belt and their pace can be established. Just want to call out Chuck Van Wong doing a fantastic job there, smoking the field in the open, finishing in 9th with the next best being Adam Labus in 15th. We'll just wait for the cars to finish their final flying laps and then we'll get straight into the race. Isn't she beautiful?
Yes, classic Silverstone layout with the very striking Satanda branding across the side, and I believe I've just been given an updated file for the Porsche drivers, so we should see less people in the open split. I believe they have all, or the majority of them at least, should have been given a class, and we'll be able to see that once the cars hit the grid. Only a couple more people on track at the moment. See Teo Sereno.
Or off track.
Or off track, yeah. It's Teo Sereno just making his way to the end there, and it looks like Chuck Van Wong and Sebastian Spicer on track as well. But as it stands, Corey Lazarus with P1 with that 48.38, Matthew Dench with a 48.70 in P2, and the car on your screen, Teo Sereno, will start in P3. So if we have a look, that means that a second covers the top 5, and Tom Bidgood is just outside that with a 149.47. And is this Teo on a flying lap? Is this improved? No, I don't think so, because he was off track earlier, wasn't he? So
yeah, but it could have been. I can't remember what the name of the corner is, but there is one of the fast corners you can just cut it, and there's no nothing to stop you because it's not really a corner; it's easy flat.
How good!
All right, there's Barney waving his flag for an empty track. Good to see him being nice and committed there.
Yeah, he has one
Vauxhall.
Vauxhall.
I haven't seen a Vauxhall in years.
Yeah, Team RAC as well. So yeah, that's some ancient. Well, ancient's probably not the right word, but
I mean, Vauxhall's still around. Just been in Australia, we don't see him.
No, because we have, I mean, it was Holden here,
Wow.
Vauxhall over there, and then it was Opel in the rest of Europe.
Yeah. Because why would you want to have consistent branding?
It's actually one of the
Consistent
things
branding's-
that annoys me about marketing and licensing. You just have to make things stupid.
Not stupid is the grid. We've got Corey Lazarus on pole position for Blackout Motorsports. Fantastic effort for Corey there. Matty Dench alongside him on the second row. Matty Dench there, the constant on the Porsche Cup, always in the top two, always winning championship. But is this the year he's finally going to lose it? Tal Serrano in third place, with Ben Faulkner in fourth place for Vermilion. Adam Hayne in fifth. Tom Bidgood in sixth. Jared Knight in seventh, and Sebastian Spicer in eighth. Damn, you know this is a fast grid when Jared Knight's in seventh. Tuk Fung Wong in ninth, absolutely smashing the open class with Dane Stanley alongside him in 10th spot. Behind them, we have Alex Court second in the open split, with Trent Allen in 12th. Paul Wilson's in 13th overall, with Russ Green alongside him in 14th. Adam Lavis takes third in the open split. Dale Sharp alongside him. Then it's Blake Fitzpatrick, Kate Patar Pavlovich, Aidan Schultz, and Tristan Coach. Then behind them is Ryan Preston and Chris Stark, who's joined us from the Formula Bs. I do see Matt Smitke on the timing screens, and they're not on the grid, so yet see whether he races. I imagine not, given he wasn't on the grid, but we'll see. Maybe he'll join from the pit lane. 40-minute race, one stop, I imagine, and should be an absolute belter around the track. What I think is definitely the best flat track in the world. I'm being relative to, of course, there is some elevation change, but not like Spa, Suzuka, or the other tracks. In Interlargos, where the elevation is a real feature. It's not really a feature here, but it is fantastic nonetheless. As we wait for the lights to all go red, they are indeed all red. They go out, and we are racing here at Silverstone. Really big start from the grid. There's going to be some changes in position there. Jared Knight getting the position. Tom Bidgood down one. Tal Serrano straight into the lead from third place. Matty Dench relegate to third, and couldn't even be fourth, but in this corner, Ben Faulkner going alongside him, trying to make it too wide as they enter Maggots, Beckett, and Cops. And the cars wisely, largely deciding they're going to go through their single file. Very, very dangerous to go too wide through this section of corners, because you're just going to compromise yourself so much. But then you've got a great overtaking opportunity as you come out of this and head down the hanger straight towards Stowe. Riding on board from the bonnet of Ben Faulkner as he looks behind Matty Dench, making a bit of ground there under braking. Matty Dench is a little bit tentative, and indeed Ben Faulkner looking to put the pressure on here. Going to be right behind them as they approach. Goes down the inside. Gets the move done. Lovely from Faulkner. And Matty Dench finds himself in the fourth place.
Oh, that's the corner. You can just
Yeah.
go wide there. I wonder if race control will probably enforce that. They tend to do so. So maybe Ben will have to keep an eye out on that one. The question remains, is it Matt Dench that's just slipped up, or is he doing this on purpose? Usually he doesn't push so hard early on. It is an elongated race. There is pit stops to consider. Not really tyres. They don't have to worry about that. It's more of a fuel management system. But as you said, Taya Serena, well and truly ahead, driving for Altus Racing there. Corey Lazarus P2 for the Blackout OPR team, and Ben Faulkner there for Vermilion in P3. Oh, as he catches a slide! Coming out to the start-finish line. Well done to you. And it was actually excellent car control.
Jared Knight. Something's happened to Jared Knight. He's plummeting down the field. So I know he's had an incident. I don't see anyone.
No, he's
off
gone into the
track. He's
pits.
coming to pit lane. Must have got a penalty.
Possibly. Looks like Dane Snaddon has also taken an excursion off the track. Hasn't registered as a crash, though. So probably just missed a corner or so.
Jared Knight rejoining the track. So definitely not retiring. Either deciding he's going to take an early pit stop and thinking he can get to the end, which would be ambitious, or getting a penalty. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe he'll join us afterwards and be able to explain, or the truth will be revealed throughout the rest of this race. Just on board with Ben Faulkner in third place. He chases down Corey Lazarus. Both of them bridesmaids to Tal Serrano at the moment, who had a fantastic start going from third up to first before they even got to the first corner, and just held on to it from there. I'll be interested to see what line fucking takes from here, and if anybody else has that corner. We saw Tal caught in the corner, Corey Lazarus decided not to. Probably save a little bit of time. I don't think it'd be a huge gain. We'll be interested to see if Race Control are looking at it. If they are, I'd be surprised to see multiple drivers not heeding that message. So I assume they're going to be okay. If they're not, I imagine we'll hear from Race Control very, very, very soon indeed. Just to catch you up on the open class, Court having a fantastic start, gets himself alongside Chuk Fung Wong, so they're in 8th and 9th place, for Adam Lavis in 3rd place, and he's defending from Sharp, Schultz, Fitzpatrick and Pavlovich, all of them in one big battle pack. In fact, the whole grid basically at this point in one big battle pack. The only gap above 1 second belonging to Matty Dench, who's above a second behind Ben Faulkner, and has just crept under that number. So now you're on the back of Corey Lazarus, watching Ben Faulkner. Faulkner looking very aggressive on the brakes. We saw him gaining on Matty Dench in the brakes. It looks like he's gaining on Corey Lazarus in the brakes there. So I think we're seeing a difference in driving style. Ben Faulkner happy to treat the car a bit more aggressively, perhaps, and Lazarus and Dench perhaps taking the longer view and just being a little bit more gentle. It will be interesting to see what Matty Dench does from here. He's very, very disciplined. He doesn't get caught up in the first lap, doesn't get caught up in racing. If he knows he's got a fuel number to hit, he will hit it. He's always focused on optimizing the whole rather than the present. Wow. So what we could be seeing very well is a difference in fuel strategy from Matty Dench to the others, and that's Ben Faulkner getting ahead of Corey Lazarus in second with another very, very well-judged move.
Yeah, another thing to take heed. You may have heard it as we were on board on the rear wing there of Corey Lazarus, but he is definitely thinking about the fuel save. So there goes Ben Faulkner shooting up on the inside. And as they make their way down towards the final sector of the track, and it looks like Matthew Dench has lost the position to Adam Hayne. So Dench is definitely taking it easy at the back there.
Go on, sorry.
I was just going to say that, yeah, as we make it through the last sector, I'll just jump on board with Corey Lazarus as they get to the line, and you'll see what I mean. But here we go, just coming around that final turn now. And here we are in car, and just keep an ear out for those revs. So you'll see him shift up as they cross the line, and then as they approach turn 1, you'll hear that very famous clutch in. Right there.
Yeah, he's got a well-defined marker there. You see the where the red ends on the advertising on the left-hand side? That's what I imagine his marker was. Came off the clutch perfectly in time with that. Just saving himself a little bit of fuel instead of braking for cops. Just letting the car slow itself down with air resistance just by coming off the throttle and then coming through. Sure sign that is fuel saving. I tell you what, the difference in pace. I know it was Tal Serrano, Ben Faulkner, Corey Lazarus, Adam Hayne, very, very, very quick drivers. They are in that ballpark of pace with Matty Dench, close enough that they are going to be able to put pressure on even a Denchi. Does make me think that perhaps the no stop is a viable option here, because like you said, Matty Dench not really just not going with them at all at the moment. And I think that difference in pace, I don't think you fuel save like that just to save a few litres at your stop. You fuel save like that if you're not going to stop at all.
So Sebastian Spicer just disconnecting a little bit there. Matthew Dench almost went into the side. Luckily, he took avoiding action and didn't cause an incident. Now, I don't think you can no-stop this. I mean, I'm not sure. I don't know. Silverstone, this layout is obviously shorter. But I believe it would have been taken into account when they created the fuel limit. But if you can no-stop this, that's huge. I don't know.
It's certainly something we've seen at usually like sort of a race a season in the Porsche Cup. There's usually a race where you can get away with it. And it's always a big ask. Fuji last year, we saw it with Matty Dench taking the victory there. And a few other drivers actually going for the no-stop. Yeah, I don't know. It's just the pace seems too far off for it to be legit. Because we saw Corey Lazarus was fuel saving. right? So it's not like Matty Dench's fuel saving was on. There is a bit of fuel saving going on from at least Corey, if not Ben and Tao and Adam. It's just he's doing so much more. So either he's carrying damage, he's slow with the Dench, so let's rule that out, or he's saving so much more fuel because he thinks there's a big gain out of it, which can only mean a no stop. So I'm going to put my money down on a no stop from there.
Plenty of time to go. We'll figure it out.
Absolutely, that's the beauty of the Porsche Cup. Everything's a bit more cultured than the Formula V's. We get a little bit long. Have to wait a little bit longer for the payoff, but the payoff is often some very great tactical races at the front. And this is Chuk Fong Wong, who's doing a really good job. As you can see, he's in the open class and is currently running within a second of Matty Dench on track. That is a fantastic effort from Chuck and from Alex Court right behind them. They're comfortably ahead of their nearest competitors in the open class and really mixing it with the elites.
Chuck Fong Wong also running the Rexy livery, made famous by the Project AO team in the endurance season. There's a second one now. I believe it was on, and I want to say it was on one of the LMP2s. I think it's purple, and it's Spike the Dragon. I think they'll be running that for the endurance races this year in which they participate. So we'll just cut on to Matthew Dench here and see if he's doing the same. 9 minutes 24 on the clock here, across the line. Get to that first corner.
Way earlier.
Oh, but so he's not doing it as severe. He's just getting off the revs, whereas Corey's actually cutting the engine.
Yes. Well, it could be a... I'd be interested to know how much of a difference that makes to fuel save versus just the feel of the car through the corner. Whether that's the reasoning behind it. We won't know until after the race. So we'll log out one of the memory banks to ask Corey and Maddie when they join us, and they usually do join us in the post-race show, so I think we can be reasonably confident we'll have at least one of them to ask the question. It'd be good to know if they're fuel saving anywhere else on track, any of the bigger stops.
Just having a look. Just wonder where else they could be doing that. Maybe we'll go for a lap with one of them, and we'll see. And there so Teo also taking that shortcut. It looks like race control hasn't given them a warning over the radio comms, so I think it's fair game. But taking that inside line does seem like you don't get the full exit, so I wonder if it's a
preference thing.
A preference thing, yeah.
Probably just feels quicker, but it might not actually be quicker, you know?
I want to agree with you, but I don't feel like Ben Faulkner and Tay Sereno are the type of people that do think based on feel and not on data. It seems like these guys would know exactly what the fastest line is around and take it. But you could be right. You could be right. I don't know.
They do work together as well. So as much as they're representing different teams according to our sheets, I know they definitely do talk and practice with each other. So could very well be it's just they made one joint decision between the two of them rather than two like fully independent drivers coming to the same conclusion, if that makes sense. That's just interesting there.
So
it's always interesting to see cars as they go for the S's and how different drivers try to keep it stable, because you'll see some sort of attack the first corner more, and others are really take it easy to make sure they're well lined up for particularly for Beckett's. So it's really interesting seeing how different drivers go through the S's because there's so much time there, and that's Alex Court pulling over.
Oh, that's interesting.
So after a really strong start, being alongside Chok Fung Wong, second in the open class and battling for the lead of the open, he's retired. It looks like Jared Knight's retired as well. I know Jared Knight's back out on track, having made a second pit stop. So I'm not sure what's going on with Jared Knight, but he's a name that you'd usually like to see towards the front, and usually do see towards the front. Very, very quick driver, but not his Knight so far. Not sure what's going on at all.
So 12 minutes 30, lap 7, 40-minute race. Teo Sereno in the lead. Ben Faulkner close behind, with Corey Lazarus 1.3 seconds behind, which does seem to check out because Lazarus is doing the fuel save. And Adam Hayne is slowly approaching. So we'll see how that pays off towards the back end of the race. Just watching Trent Allen chase down Paul Wilson. Paul Wilson, of course, upgrading to the, or being promoted to the elite split after winning the Open last season. I believe he won last season.
Yes,
not the
you're
season
right.
before that. That's right. They come across again for yet another lap, and I don't think we've seen anybody take a proper pit stop. I don't
No, we haven't.
think. Yes, J Knight and Court, but they came in prematurely, so yeah, there'll be nothing there.
And Gore hasn't come out, which is an even bigger indicator.
Yeah.
Right, so, interesting thing to note. Lap times. Very, very similar now. So, Tao Sereno, Faulkner, Lazarus, Payne, and Matty Dench, and to be fair, Tom Bidgood, putting in very, very similar lap times, all 1 minute 50.2, or there or thereabouts, which indicates that any differences that there has been in fuel saving, then there's not that difference now on these last few laps. So looking at the lap times, looks like Denchi putting the hammer down,
Yeah,
which is interesting.
Yeah, just on board with him at the moment, trying to see if there are any other spots where he maybe looking to fuel save, but it doesn't seem like that is the case. So maybe he just did it early on, try and get some form of an advantage. Benched down 4 spots from the start, which is uncharacteristic as we see the windshield wipers doing their thing. Hayden Schultz at the back there, close behind Dale Sharp. Adam Lavis chasing down Allen in P11. And I'm just curious to see as Tao Sereno does a 150.0. And yeah, he didn't lift that time. He didn't let it coast. So it looks like the time for saving is over. And I think you're right, it is hammer time. Yeah, at the Silverstone circuit, 15 minutes out of 40. Still plenty of race to go.
Yeah, the intriguing race we've got now, Ben Faulkner is still within half a second of Tao Sereno, so he is looking threatening to take the lead at any point. Corey Lazarus just dropped off that group, he's 1.6 seconds back. It's definitely going at the pace of them, so don't rule him out at all. He could definitely close in that gap. Adam Hayne actually seems to have the most absolute raw pace, but it hasn't quite got the consistency of the cars ahead of him. He's pressuring Corey Lazarus at the moment, and that's Matty Dench getting back up into 5th place ahead of Sebastian Spicer. So I do think we now have the 5 drivers that are going to be battling for the win in this race as the top 5 drivers. Although, in saying that, Tom Bidgood also has been very, very quick. So he may be able to make it a 6-car battle.
Whoa, Ben Faulkner down the inside. And he pulls the car up as well. So Ben Faulkner will take the lead of the race as they come into sector 3. And it just seems as though Tao, I should say, left that door way wide open.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, these guys know each other, and Tao would have seen the car coming down the inside and knew there's no point finding it. It could also be a pre-coordinated maneuver to share the fuel. Yeah, he's broke early there to let Ben pass. So he's wanting to get a bit of free fuel saving by running behind Ben for a bit. So good thinking there from Tao, thinking ahead. You always want to be in the lead in a race. That's what your instinct says. But Tao knows that he's basically giving everyone behind him an advantage by pushing the air out of the way for them, being that first car in the line. And instead, he's going to slide into the queue behind Ben and get the benefit for the next few laps before they come up to the pit stops. Took for one lead, going off track.
Yeah,
we just saw that on... Yeah, it's commitment, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it's commitment.
Just pushing a little bit too hard. But I will say, Chok Fung Wong is punching well above. Here we go. Phil Butler letting us know that Alex had technical issues. There we go. That makes sense. So that was why he pulled over to the side of the road, not wanting to endanger anyone else's race. That's a gentlemanly thing to do. And so, unfortunately, Alex Court is out of this one, which puts us down to, I want to say 20 cars, but I wonder if Tristan Koch has done the same. I'll have to keep an eye on that. But yes, Chok Fung Wong is punching well above the weight here. in the open split, but he is there in P8, doing well. Dane Snadden is trying to punch him down a peg, but isn't quite getting it done at the moment, as he will follow him down towards Sector 3. And it looks like Adam Hayne is also catching up to Corey Lazarus, who up a position, started P5 in this race. So doing well so far. And it looks like Corey Lazarus is happy to wait in P3 for now, but once these pit windows open for the front runners, I'm curious to see how that resolves.
Just watching here, Adam Hayne. He's possibly the most intriguing driver at the front, and I say that because he has got tremendous pace. Starting fourth, he lost a couple of spots off the grid and made his way back up. So he's not had quite as clean a run as, say, Benny and Tao, who sort of made the leap at the start and haven't looked back. But it'll be really interesting to see, and it's brewing to be a lovely race at the front, isn't it? We've got Matty Dench dropping down into 1 minute 49 to 1 minute 49.8 on the last lap, and he's wheeling these guys in slowly but surely. Adam Hayne's got the fastest outright time of 49.6, but he's tucked up behind Corey Lazarus now, so he's going to have to make a move if he wants to show more of that devastating pace. And then Faulkner and Tao, they're in first and second, control the race, and we've seen them at least work together a little bit with Tao letting Ben to get the fuel. So whether that's preordained or just Tao thinking, you know, if I slow down, I know Ben will overtake me. So no comms needed. But it's poised to be very, very interesting once we get to the first round of pit stops, and I can imagine we won't know just how competitive this is going to be until we see them all make that stop.
Yeah, so Tao Sereno just took the lead there from Ben Faulkner. Coming through as Jared Knight sets the fastest lap of the race, a 149.57. And we hit the halfway point, so I'm sure the fuel stops will be coming soon. And it is at these times, I really wish we did have fuel numbers. It would be such an interesting insight. But alas, we don't. So just have to work off estimates and what we think is going to happen. As Ben Faulkner follows now for another time, lap 12. And he gets right up alongside here through turn 1. Tao was significantly faster that lap, about a second. Can't see any off tracks there for Ben Faulkner, so it looks like he was just slower that lap. So Ben Faulkner within 0.2, and Adam Hayne is now also within 0.2 of Corey Lazarus, and Matthew Dench 2.5 seconds behind these front four.
It always amazes me when you watch good drivers going through the S's, because their lines are so consistent lap after lap after lap. And I'm sure any other sim racer will agree with me when they say that is not easy. That is a very hard complex to get through consistently. For most drivers, their lines will be fluctuating a fair bit. Their time through there will be fluctuating by half a second quite easily every, like most laps. These guys at the front though, they can hammer it time after time and time. I think it's a real good indicator of who is a good driver and who isn't. If you can get through there consistently and quickly, you are a blooming good driver. And all of these guys at the front, they fit into that category.
Yeah, another mark is also when it comes to the consistency, and this is something that I've read and heard in interviews, but it seems as though the extra caliber drivers in the real world as well as in the sim, they not only can they drive consistently around the track in terms of a line, but they also have the ability, car willing, to be able to drive to a lap time. And that, to me, is where it gets crazy. So, for example, there was a very famous discussion about Fernando Alonso back in the Renault days where his team could tell him, you need to drive to this time, and he would adjust his driving for that track to achieve that time. And I don't quite understand how you do that. It's one thing to remember your markers, but to be that precise and that robotic that you know that if someone asks you to do a, whatever the time may be, a 117.5, you're confident enough to go out there and know, if I apply this much throttle and take this line and do this, I'm going to hit that time.
Yes, and you know, being Alonso, he will do that in the optimal way to take as little out of the car as possible while doing that. Like, he will just know. He'll know, oh, I need to do this much fuel saving. I'll take it this much easier in the corners, save the tyres a bit, and that will be optimal. That's just how he operates, and that's why, despite only having 2 titles, he is revered as if he's got more titles than that. And despite having 2 titles, you'll often hear him known as, like, what could have been with him, which is crazy when he's a multiple-time world champion. Such is Fernando. And such is Matty Dench in the Porsche Cup. Basically, he always seems to get the tactical games right, the strategy across a race. It's rare that we see him make a mistake. If he makes a mistake, it's usually because he's qualified in second and forgot that he actually needs to use the pit limiter, or at least not just slam the throttle as he comes out the pits. If anything undoes him, it's usually that. This is Ben Faulkner. He is right behind Tasserano. It's Ben Faulkner. Haven't seen him in the Porsche Cup for a few seasons. Good to see him out here. Really strong driver. Love seeing him out at the GSRC doing a bit of racing. And yeah, very, very quick young driver. As is Tao. Tao's very, very quick. Got Adam Hayne in 4th. He's very quick. We've seen him come in and out of the Porsche Cup a few times, and whenever he comes in, it always gets Zach very, very excited because he knows Matty Dench is going to have a battle on his hands. And this time around, he's only in 4th place, and Matty Dench is in 5th, which tells you just how strong this field is.
Yeah, 24 minutes, 30 seconds on that clock. Matthew Dench was 2.5 seconds behind. And now if you have a look to the top left of your screen, you'll notice that that number is yellow, which means he's underneath 1 second, and it is dropping drastically. He has definitely picked up the pace as past the last laps. However, not the fastest on track. That is Jared Knight, who was doing a 149.43. So he's flying at the back of the grid there in P16. Now, Tao's doing a really good job out front. Ben Faulkner seems to have settled in to that P2 position. And Corey Lazarus, I could be wrong, and I'm fine to be corrected if this isn't the case, but from what I'm seeing here, I think there might be a little bit of pressure on Corey. I've seen him go wide a couple of times and have to catch a fishtail from that Porsche Cup car, so I wonder if maybe it's starting to get to him. Or maybe those are one-offs, I'm not too sure, but Adam Hayne is really pushing and bringing this gap down, and I would expect to see a move in the next couple of laps, unless the pit window is open for these guys, and if so, then we might see some alternate pit strategies come from the top 5 here. And it really is essentially the front 2 in their own little fight, and Corey Lazarus is 3 seconds behind, so I hope that the fuel saving was worth it, because 3 seconds is not an insignificant amount.
No, it's not. It's a fair chunk of fuel if you want to make up 3 seconds in the stationary time of a pit stop alone. And I think you're right about Corey. I think he doesn't quite have the ultimate pace of the guys around him, and he's starting to feel that pressure. He was 1.6 behind Benny Faulkner a little earlier. He's now 2.6, and he's the only driver in the top 6 not to have posted a time in the 149s, and many of them now gone deep into the 149s, so 149.6 for Tao, 49.5 for Faulkner, 49.6 for Hayne, 49.5 for Dench. And yeah, Corey Lazarus' best is a 50.1. I wonder if that is just showing he doesn't quite have the ultimate pace potential of this car's ahead, and he's been relying on the others to fuel save a bit for him to keep up. Either that, or perhaps the others' tyres have been kept in better condition. You're not going to suffer so much with the wear, but you can suffer with the heat degradation on these cars. You can overheat the tyres, and I wonder if he's just having to use them a little bit more, and perhaps not quite as in the ultimate position, because his lap times haven't come down as the track as the fuels come out of the car as much as the other drivers have. So that could be to do with it. But so I think you're right. He doesn't quite have the pace, and I think he's starting to feel the pressure.
And I might just touch on something that you said there for anyone that is watching who might not be aware. You were talking about heat degradation and overinflating the tyres, and just to give a little bit of a more explanation on that. So if you guys think about a balloon, the more air that the balloon has in it, the smaller the contact patch is at the very peak of that balloon. And so if you think about that like a tire, the lower the pressure in the tyre, the more surface area you have, but the heavier the tyre is in terms of drag. The more inflation you have in the tyre, the smaller the contact patch, but it glides over the track smoother, and you get less rolling resistance and things like that. And so what happens is in the Porsche Cup cars, there's this very narrow window of effectiveness with the tyre temperature, and you want to make sure you keep it in there, which is where you're maximizing the grip and minimizing the wear. Now, if you drive a little too aggressively, you tend to lean more towards the wear, and you'll find that you'll have less and less grip over the course of the race. As that tyre temperature increases, you're getting less and less of a contact patch, and that wear becomes more significant. And so it is one of those things where the very best drivers are going to actively manage that as well as their fuel. And some other drivers that aren't as good, they'll focus on one or the other. Usually fuel, because that's the one you stop for. But it is significant the amount of lap time that you can lose if you do not take care of your tyres in the early part of the race.
And that's why we do see these significant pace gaps between the very best drivers and other drivers that are very, very good, but not quite at that level. I mean, look at the gap on the screen, right? You've got the top 7. They're all fairly close. And then you've got a big gap down to Dane Sneddon, who's 11 seconds behind them. And that's the kind of thing that explains that gap. There's not a huge difference in the pace of those drivers, really, in terms of outright pace. But when you put them across the race distance and you're actually having to manage the car a bit, manage the fuel, manage the tyres, these top guys, they have a bit more ultimate pace, but then they can extenuate that because they're also managing the car to stay in that ultimate pace. And if you listen to Denchi, I was commentating all last season for the Porsche Cup, last season before, for the Porsche Cup, and you talk to Denchi about it, and he'll say with the Porsche, you have to drive it carefully, you have to treat it well. He will describe how he's not being aggressive with the car, and then the lap time will come to you. And so when you often ask him tips and where drivers might have gone wrong and stuff, he'll often say that people often overpush the car, and that leads to what Daniel just described very fantastically there with the balloon analogy, where you just get the car out of that optimal window, and so you're a little bit slower to begin with. Let's say you're 2 times slower in lap time, but then you push the car too much, and your tyres lose 0.3 of a second in ultimate performance. You're now 0.5 off, where you could have been 0.2 off. And it's these kind of things that can make those big gaps appear, and you hear drivers wondering, like, where are they finding that time? I'm pretty quick. I genuinely don't believe that time is there. It could be that they are using the car in such a way that it gets the car out of that ultimate performance window. So actually, they are very close to the ultimate performance of the car in its current state, but not the overall performance of the potential of the car, because they're sort of ruining it with how they're driving. Yes, again. Hopefully you followed that, but just to explain just how good some of these drivers are, you really have to focus on optimizing the entirety of the race, and that is what Matty Dench is so good at, and why he is a multi-time champion in the GT3s and the Porsche Cup. And we're about to see how the story is going to unfold, because the pits have started in earnest. A lot of the drivers towards the back have pit. Chuck Van Wong's pitted from the lead of the open class. Adam Hayne has also pitted. He's become the first of the group to pit, indicating he's either doing a little bit less fuel saving, or he's decided, I want to get clean air, I'm going to pit early and I'm going to see what I can do with that clean air. And we're about to get our answer, because Tao and Ben have followed each other into the pit.
So those two have gone in. Corey Lazarus and Matthew Dench choose to stay ahead, or out on track, I should say, as both of them just passed peak 20 there. And it was Adam Hayne that came in lap 16. So he came in very early to try and see where he might end up with an undercut. As these resolve, I believe he will tag onto the back of Sereno. Yes, I was right. And he's bringing that gap down. It looks like he'll be about 5 seconds away as they get back up to racing speed. So Corey Lazarus in the lead of the race. Matthew Dench in P2, but neither of them have pit, and so they will need to do so. My assumption, we'll see if the zero stop is possible, but I don't think so. And then we also have Sebastian Spicer there in P3, who has also not pit. He's 3 seconds behind his front pack of 2. And then we see Ben Faulkner in P4. That's a wide turn there, Mr. Dench. Ben Faulkner in P4, 16 seconds behind, but almost nothing when it comes to a pit stop. So we'll see who comes out on top. Is it the overcut or is it the undercut that's more powerful here? Time will tell as we are counting down the minutes and seconds to the end of this race. Will Corey Lazarus and Matthew Dench come into the pits this time round, or will they go around one more time? I will say, from a fuel savings perspective, it's been pretty good. Let's see.
An almost
Oh,
contact.
Jesus! That's a pit entry. Oh no, Matthew Dench went too hard. No.
Well, we're not going to get our answer. Matthew Dench going into the back of Corey Lazarus, either going into the back of him or locking up, trying to avoid going into the back of Corey Lazarus on pit entry. So you saw Corey Lazarus got the approach into Luffield wrong, goes wide on the exit. He's trying to comes across late, manages to do so, puts on the brake. Matthew Dench carrying more speed. Yeah, and locks himself up, trying to avoid the back of Corey Lazarus, who just wasn't ready to take quite as fine a margin going into the pits. Let's see this from the onboard.
That is an aggressive pit lane turn, though. He goes over the grass.
Illegal.
Yeah, and look at that. He wasn't expecting him to brake so hard. Oh, that is devastating. All that work. So Matthew Dench does his pit stop and comes out in P6. And with only 6 minutes to go on the clock, I think that is a hurdle that Matthew Dench is not going to be able to climb. And
yeah, I agree. I don't think you go quite that aggressive if you're feeling comfortable, do you? We know Matty Dench loves finding those small margins where he can make a difference, where he can find some time that other drivers might not find. He's talked about it in the pit lane, how he finds time through the pit sequence, not just through fuel, but through little things like not using the limiter and staying 1 km/h over the speed limit so it doesn't actually catch you on the system. Those little things. But I don't think you go for quite that aggressively if you're not feeling at least a little bit of pressure, knowing it's going to be close. So I think you might be right. It'll be interesting to get Matty Dench's thoughts after the race. Just calling out Jared Knight. Absolutely fantastic race. We saw him in the pit at the end of lap 1. He then pitted again on lap 6. Right, to do his actual pit stop. He's now right behind Matty Dench. And the only time Matty Dench has lost has been in that incident, which was a fair chunk of time, but not heaps and heaps, not as much as an extra pit stop. So Jared Knight driving absolutely superbly, has been fastest man on track, and just having an absolutely cracking race and looking like he might even get Denchy here on pure pace, which would be a great race for Jared Knight. And just a real shame we didn't have him up the front from the start after whatever happened on lap 1. We'll have to find out what it was that occurred. And I just want to call out Corey Lazarus did in fact get penalised for that illegal pit entry. He crossed the right line instead of the yellow line. It was too late, and he ended up in pit lane for 1 minute 60 seconds, which means he got a stop and hold for about 70 seconds. So yeah, not great from Corey, and he'll rue that mistake because he's in 18th when he could have been battling for podium positions.
So yeah, that's a rough one. I wonder if maybe he just got caught out with the old layout of the track. Yeah, that is. I agree, Sam. That is a brutal penalty. But unfortunately, he did cross that green line, and yeah, that's how it goes. You do have to make your pit entry very telegraphed, and yeah, I am really interested to see what Matt has to say if he does talk to us after the race, because he was cooking into that pit lane. And it just seems as though Corey broke way earlier than he expected. And yeah, just locks up, and everybody familiar with these Porsche Cup cars, once they lock up, that's it. It's also very hard to get back.
Corey so close in front of him, particularly as Corey cut across quite late. I wonder if he lost his braking reference.
Oh,
because normally your braking reference is the line. Usually you're looking for the line on the board. If he couldn't see that, it would be very easy to misjudge and be deeper in the pit lane than he thought, because it's not a long pit lane as well. So I wonder if he lost his braking reference behind Corey.
That could be the case. Well, time will tell. We'll find out if we can. But we have, 3 minutes left in this race.
And a great battle for the lead.
It is.
A great battle for the lead between these two. They swapped positions multiple times during this race. Bounced around and putting lots of pressure on Ben Faulkner then. You see how wide he was coming out of that corner? He's absolutely thrashing that beast and putting Benny under all sorts of pressure. I would not like to put money on which of these guys is going to win, or even if they'll make it cleanly through, because these guys are aggressive and they both really want this. That back marker hopefully will just stay out of their way. Yeah, just a very good job there. Nicely done. Not an overtaking position here, but can Tao carry a little bit more speed and get the move done? No, he's going to have to wait until at the very least the next lap.
So great job here from the front runners. And special mention to Adam Hayne. The undercut worked for him up into P3. So now that, of course, will be affected by the fact that Corey got a penalty and Matthew Dench spun in the pit lane. So that would have helped as well. But nevertheless, made his way up to P3 with a 4.5 second gap to Sebastian Spicer behind. So a great drive from him. And he's a little bit too far away to do anything about the second or first steps of the podium. So he'll just be looking to... Oh, it's Ben Faulkner gets a twitch of the back. And Tao would have seen that and know that it's time to pounce. So we'll be keeping an eye on this battle all the way to the line. Considering the laps are 1:49, it will be white flag. And there's Barney waving it now. So last lap. Lap 23. And Ben Faulkner can see victory at the end of the tunnel. But there is a green and gold Porsche that wants to take it away from him. The question is, will he? We've got 1:40 to figure it out. Or 1:50 at the current pace now. But in any case, they are both flying, light on fuel. The rears will be happy. And so they'll have to keep an eye on the handling characteristics of the car, because one wrong move and the entire race can be ruined.
Oh, close there between the two of them. This is the best opportunity he's going to have. Oh, not quite close enough. I thought coming out of the previous corner, it was just close enough to make a move, siding better of it as they go through club. Close between these two.
There are back markers, but I don't know if the back markers will come into effect. They're significantly far ahead. I think it'll just be these two for the fight. So if there's anywhere that Tao can make a move, it's going to be in the upcoming corners. Maybe trying to break late into one of the hairpins. However, probably not a safe move.
If you can get a better exit out of left field, if you can keep it tighter here, come wider into left field, get more speed out, maybe to get a run across the line. Ben Faulkner taking what looks to be an optimal line through there. Tao Serrano's going to do everything he can to carry more speed, but it's not going to be enough. And Ben Faulkner's going to take the victory for Vermilion Racing in the Spreyton Insider Porsche Cup Round 2 from Silverstone. Tao Serrano takes second place, and Adam Hayne 9 seconds back. Looks like he's going to get the final position on the podium as we watch Matty Dench trying to put the pressure on Tom Bidgood to even get into the top 5 after that incident.
Whoa. Decided to take the scenic route there across the line. So Matt Dench ends up P6 after that debacle. Jared Knight there in P7.
Jared Knight, fantastic race for Jared Knight. Definitely had to do some fuel saving at the end. Look at his last lap, 1:57. I did notice that on the timings, that he was dropping off Denchy like a brick in water. And so I imagine that's what's happened for Jared Knight after that early stop. Chukfeng Wong takes the victory in the opening class, with Adam Lavis only 0.4 of a second behind him in the end. So Chukfeng Wong either not doing any fuel saving or something happening to him, which meant that open class really tightened up at the end. Adam Lavis not quite pipping him to the post, and Dale Sharp finishing on the final step of the podium for them, with Aiden Schultz in 4th. Really interesting race there. Really hard to call, not knowing what the fuel load's going to be, and it was one we definitely had to wait to see what the payoff was going to be. And then an incident with Corey Lazarus and Manny Dench, both of them sort of coming unstuck at the pit stops, sort of ruined the climax we were hoping to get. But thankfully Faulkner and Tao decided to put on a bit of a show for us, and we've got Ben waiting in the broadcast green room, so I'll bring him in. to have a chat. Ben, lovely to have you with us. Lovely to see you out on track in the Porsche Cups at the GSRC. And you got a victory to top it all.
I did. I'm glad to be back. It's been too long. And I've been loving the P Cup, so I'm glad to get in.
Yeah, excellent. What was the secret to your victory today? Where was the pace? Why were you quick?
I mean, I've been practicing P Cup for all this season, sort of, because I'm aiming to do some PES quali. Same with Teo. So we've been doing lots of practice in other leagues and stuff, and this was one that we saw. We jumped in and we can have a run. We just managed to have really good fuel saving pace. I think we managed to I think we were lapping a second quicker at one point while fuel saving still towards the end, so we had pretty good pace. So that was mint from Jaimo. So yeah.
Yeah, interesting you mentioned Tao there. There was a maneuver early on. I think you had Tao in the lead. He jumped from third to first, and you were sat behind him. And then was it around lap 10 you took the lead from him? Was that a coordinated maneuver, or did Tao let you pass there, or was it a sort of a genuine move late on the brakes? Couldn't quite tell from the commentary box.
Yeah, so I had like a ridiculous amount of fuel saved, and Teo didn't have as much, so to protect him as well, we did a bit of a switch until I made a mistake, and because he made a mistake, that's why we switched in the first place. But yeah, so we were just playing it tactically.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say the two of you nailed it, given you finished first and second. Did you see what happened to Denji and Corey?
I heard over the radio that there was some troubles in pit lane. From what he could hear, Corey might have, I don't know, sped in pit lane and hit him or something. Is that right?
So what happened was Corey made an illegal entry into pit lane. We believe he suddenly crossed the white line, came out wide of left field and across the front. There was a bit of a gap between two of them. I think you're going to see it on screen. Yeah, you're going to see it on screen. So rather than me explain it, we can just watch it. And I'd love to get your thoughts.
So I'm guessing it looks like Corey pressed the pit lane button like a bit earlier and Denji didn't expect it. Is that right?
That's what we're thinking. Certainly he seems to have got caught out.
Yeah, for sure. That's what happened.
And
too early.
Yeah, and I think Corey got held up for the crossing the white line on pit entry.
Yeah, okay.
He was in the pits for a minute 10. So if you're wondering why it was just you and you're wondering why it was just you and Tao after everyone had their pits, that's the story there. So yeah, it was interesting because we were wondering whether there would be a difference in the fuel save between the two of you, and then
we sort of knew that we would come out in front still, but it was just dependent on how close he would be. So depending on how much we had to push or not towards the end, we saved a lot of tires as well. We were pretty much not even braking into a lot of the corners, just keeping them nice. And yeah, it was a good race.
Yeah, so I mean, you're the only driver that's joined us, so I'm gonna keep talking to you. When you say saving the tires, can you just explain a bit of what goes into saving the tires for those less experienced with how you would actually do that technically? I mean, we've all heard it, right? We're all motorsport fans. We've all heard of saving the tires, but what does that actually look like from within the car?
So like the corner where I don't know if you've seen that me and Teo cut one of the corners legally. That saves a lot of tires as well, and keeping it by not using so much of the brakes, we're putting less load into the tires, coming into the braking zones, which keeps them alive a bit longer, keeps them cool, not too hot, and yeah, like you see there, that helps the load because we don't have to load the tires up going around the corner going wide, and yeah.
So you say using less of the brakes, less peak pressure on the brakes.
Yep.
Or So, or could you also do it by lifting up the throttle so you're slowing from a slower speed?
Yeah, exactly. Like into Maggots and Beckett's, where I couldn't see a Teo. I think Teo might have been as well. I was fully lifting off going into there, and I was only pressing the brake and the exit of it to put it into third to get a good run out, to point the nose, and then yeah, a lot of the other corners just lifting off, letting the engine slow it down, using the gears to help slow down a bit. But yeah, it helped a lot, and it seems it'll be what we'll be doing later in the season too.
I'm just going to jump in real quick, just to touch on what you were saying there with the saving the tyres. How much, if you know, how much lap time do you think that saves you at the tail end of the race per lap?
Oh, I mean, at the end, we probably could have pushed to do, on low fuel, we probably could have matched to what we were doing in quali. I put a little bit less fuel in that, I should have at the end. But maybe 5, 6, it kind of depends. It'll save quite a few seconds if you do it right. In this car, it's pretty much all about tyre wear. Because if you lock up, your tyres are pretty much dead for like 1, 2, maybe 3 laps sometimes.
Yeah, right. We've been joined by Tao, your practice partner, in the booth. Congratulations, Tao, on the podium. How good are you to lose out to Ben in the end?
Nah, it's okay. I mean, I won towing, so I was always going to get jumped, but that's right. It was good fun.
Yeah, we I get your take on it as well. So Ben was saying that you're pretty confident you were going to be ahead of Corey and Matty Dench. You just didn't know by sort of how much. Did you feel like there would have been pressure coming from them at the end had they not had their incident in the pit lane?
They would have gotten closer, but I think it would have been pretty. I think we had more pace anyway, so I don't think it would have made a difference. But it would have been fun to see what happened.
Yeah, so you think you had enough pace that with the track position, you should have been able to hold them off even if they were coming up on strong at the end.
Yeah, those last few laps we sort of started pushing, I think we sort of pulled away, so... But it's hard to tell, they might have saved a whole bunch, so you never know.
Yeah, it was a shame we were sort of robbed that comparison at the end. It would have been lovely to see once you'd all pitted and it was a bit more, what's the word, a bit less strategy involved and just more just going guns blazing into the end. It would be interesting to see how the pace all compared.
Yeah,
I think, go on.
I think Dench realised the save didn't work. It's about halfway through he started pushing again. So, yeah, it would have been close, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would have been really good. It's a shame we didn't get that, but we got our own drama in the end anyway, and you two put on a great show, so we didn't miss out on too much. We're going to see you both for the next round. I know you did round 1 as well, Tao, and I believe you're actually going to be leading the championship for this.
Yeah, just depends on work, but if I'm free, I'll race. If not, I'll just jump in whenever I can.
Yeah, excellent. And this question is for both of you, I'll let you both answer individually. We got the first Enduro in a couple of rounds, which has been a feature of the Porsche Cup season for quite a few seasons. So that's at Road America for round 4. What do you guys prefer? Do you prefer the longer endurance race where you can show off more of those skills around time management like we were talking about with Ben before you came online, Tao? Or do you like the shorter races where it's a bit more thrill a minute?
Definitely the sprints in this car. This car is just not for enduros. I mean, it's fine. It's a lot more fun to race and lob them around, especially if we don't have any fuel. You just actually drive them. But each to their own.
I agree with that.
Yeah, so fan of the shorter formats. We do usually have some sprints as well. I'm not sure when. Looks like the next round is next round sprint races at Sonoma.
I'll just jump in quick there too. I'm curious for you, Ben and Tao. What's your thoughts on Sonoma? Because it's not a track that pops up a lot. It's well known in the States, especially in the NASCAR circuit and things like that. But yeah, I want to get your take on that. It's if I remember correctly, we're going to the historic Cup layout. So it's the one that has, I think, the part oval at the back.
I've only driven it in the supercar, so should be a bit better than the supercar. Obviously, this car can actually use curbs, so it should be fun. But yeah, should be good.
I think the last time I drove it was in the USF 2000 for the GSRC series that you guys run, I think 2 or 3 seasons ago. It was pretty. I enjoyed it a lot, so it'll be interesting what it's like in this car. But it's been a while since I've driven there. But it is a pretty interesting track. It's a nice track with some interesting corners that could have some action in them. So we'll see how we go.
All right, awesome. Well, congratulations to you on your 1-2. Looking forward to seeing you at the next round. Where else can we see you racing?
Go on, sorry.
You go first.
I will be doing Logitech, try to qualify for that, so that'll be fun. Did that last night. But other than that, probably not. Other than an official, you might not see me.
And I will be doing the NZP Cup League on Mondays. GSRC as much as I can. Fridays I've got an IMSA series I do, SRW. And then Tuesday there's a Peak, I believe, coming up as well. And then other than that, probably prep for PESC whenever the qualifying starts.
Gonna be busy then.
Yes, a lot more time with my hands now that I'm out of school, so it's pretty nice to get some more time in the rig.
Yeah, enjoy that time just out of school. It's a good time of life. Those first couple of years before the reality of life beats you down. Thank you very
100%.
much. Thank you very much for joining us. Lovely to hear both your voices in the commentary box. We'll see you both next week.
Thank
All right, thank you.
Well, I think we've been treated to some great racing tonight, Daniel. Let's thank our sponsors for bringing this to our screens. So we've got Flash Graphics, Lobesy Racing, M-Wave, Player One Sim Gear, Spreyton Cider, who are of course our primary sponsor for the Formula V and the Porsche Cup. So big thanks to them for putting this stream out. Waste Options, and we're back to the beginning. Daniel, any words before we wrap up?
Yeah, we'll just have a look to the schedule ahead. So here we are on the screen. So Thursday gone, Friday upcoming. It's Wings and Slicks using the ever popular and not hated at all Super Formula 23 at the Red Bull Ring. Now that format has changed. It was a 2-race series, but due to some feedback, it has been extended to 3 races: 15-minute, 20-minute reverse grid, and a 20-minute top 10 reverse grid. That's coming up on Friday. Saturday is Mountain Bend as usual. We are around Mount Panorama, the greatest racetrack on the earth, in the Pro Mazdas. The 32 laps kicking off at 8:30 AEDT. Sunday, we continue on with the new V8 Supercars Oval Series. Now, the track and lap count has not been determined yet, so keep an eye on the GSRC sheet for that if you are interested in competing. Monday, we bring you the broadcast. That'll be Adam and I believe Zach Caven will be in the booth for that one. That's the Super 2s and Super 3s at Magello for 25 minutes around there. And then we have a split broadcast for the GT3 series for both Pro and Am at Alton Park International, starting at 8:45. That'll be race 1 and race 2 with a top 10 reverse grid. The up-and-comers on Tuesday using the FIA Formula 4 at Silverstone GP. 3 races there with a reverse grid for the second. And the GT1 Civil War goes to Donington Park for 35 minutes of V8 goodness. Actually, I think the Corvette's a V8, but I think the Aston Martin might be a V10 or 12, I forget. Someone will correct me, I'm sure. Wednesday, the GR86 Challenge goes to the Indianapolis Road Course for 2 races there. 15 minutes for the first and 25 minutes for the top 10 reverse grid for the second. And the GT4s go to Brands Hatch for 2 races themselves as well. 11 laps and 17 laps of the top 10 reverse grid. And then we come back full circle for Thursday night, which I believe you'll be joining me for the first half at least. Is that right, Liam?
Yes, I think we can't guarantee Zach will be there for the start, so I will be there as a backup and a stand-in, probably the first race or 2 of the Formula Vs, and then hopefully I'll actually finally get behind the wheel of the Porsche Cup. I missed Imola because I hate Imola, and was going to do tonight, but did the broadcast instead. So hopefully I'll be finally get out of track on round 3 of 10.
That's okay. Well, hopefully you have a good time around Sonoma. But yes, Brands Hatch, the venue again for the Formula Vs. Knowing that track and these cars should be a cracker for 3 races as per usual. Top 10 reverse grid for the second. And yes, as Liam alluded to, the Porsche Cup at Sonoma Raceway, historic for a sprint race, a sprint session, I should say. 13 laps, 21 laps with the top 10 reverse grid. And if what we saw tonight was anything to go by, I think that we have a cracker coming up when people really don't have to pay attention to fuel that much as they do in a 40-minute race. So yeah, we should be in for an amazing week of racing.
Get your merchandise from the usual website, merch.tgsrci.com. The hoodie is very, very warm and comfortable. It gets me through the winter. I'm sure the t-shirts are beautiful as well. Stock up and support the GSRC by doing so. You could get a plain t-shirt, you could get a plain bottle opener, you could get a plain stubby. Why not get a GSRC one instead? Alright, well, thank you very, very much for joining us if you've hung on this long. We've been treating you to some fantastic racing. It's a shame you missed it, Zach. Hopefully you find time to watch this and been able to enjoy it from the comfort of your sofa. We will be back with you next week. The next broadcast will be on Monday for the supercars and the GT3s. Fantastic action there as well, so please do join us from that. From myself and from Daniel and the rest of us at the GSRC, good night and have a very lovely weekend.